So, half of the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup is in the books. The other half starts tonight with the 9th and 10th round of the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup from Road Atlanta. This 2.54 mile, 12 corner racetrack looking to provide some very exciting racing here this evening. Hello again, everyone. Will Vincent in the GlacierTV booth alongside Marius Golombeck, Liam Jenkins, and Yoni Backman. And I'll come to you first, Marius. Very tight qualifying field at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment we've really got the top 10 once again inside the 1 second mark here. Gregor Hutter currently leading the field with a 107.194. However, Jesse Nieminen just 300th behind him once again, very close at the top between Nieminen and Hutter. 107.220 for him. Then it's quite a big gap of 2/10ths. Despite this track is quite short, of course, being very tricky and technical, so 2/10 isn't really that much in the end. Ilka Harpala in 3rd position, David Williams and Jack Basford following him, all inside of 400th there. Then another 2/10, to Rico Alatalo in 6th position, Alexi Aloma, Paul Ilbrink, Jörn Jensen, Anthony Roselli, all together within 2/10 once again. So it's just basically the same as we had all season. The top runners being close together, the mid-pack being close together, and overall just a really close field.
Jesse Nieminen currently on track in the free car, working his way down towards chicane. He got himself a little bit of a draft there down the back straightaway. We'll see how he does as he spins that car, actually. He spins it coming out of the chicane. This just shows just how much these drivers are having to work on the ragged edge. And Nieminen was going into the corner nicely, came out of it nicely, then just caught the curb a little bit on the outside, and that spun him off of the racetrack in. That really would have been a great lap by him. Unfortunately, he will not be able to get that time he was after. Liam, you are looking at one of the sessions once again, and it's looking very interesting over there at the moment.
It is indeed. There are currently only 3 drivers within the 108 mark, and there, of course, Ilka Harpala, who sits fastest in this session on a 107.449, Paula Brink, who sits second on a 107.829, and then Anthony Roselli is on a 107.898. But Roderick Croonan is slowly hampering away, just teetering on the edge of a 107. He's on a 108.011 now, so literally a thousandth of a second away from breaking that mark, but still a very close field here today.
Indeed, yeah, don't forget you can keep contact with us on Twitter all race long. Use the hashtag ProtoICE, also facebook.com/GlacierTV. We've got ourselves about 7 minutes left of this qualifying session. Drivers still circulating their way on the racetrack. Jack Basford is about to come out of pit road. In fact, he's now onto the racetrack. He is going to try and improve on his time of 1:07.482. Troy Schultz sets his personal best, and he does a 1:08.097. Doesn't move up any positions. However, Martin Cronkite on the racetrack. Alautolo is on the racetrack as well. I'm only going to mess up his name once today, I promise. Loma on the racetrack, and Nieminen. We'll see whether he can go faster. He's working his way now down into the S's. And Marius, Nieminen once again looking strong, but that last lap, he lost it right at the very end. And it just shows how you've got to use every single inch of the racetrack.
Yeah, it shows not only that, but also Jesse is now, as his fellow competitors, in the last 5 minutes of the qualifying session here. So, for the guys tuning in for the first time, in this format, we will explain you tonight a couple of times how exactly the ProtoICE works. However, the qualifying being 50 minutes in time every single weekend. So, you've got 50 minutes, seems like quite much, so especially at a track of Road Atlanta where the lap time is around the 1:08. You might get a few laps together. For example, if we just skip through the field, we see people doing about 20 lap times so far. So it's just basically doing a lap, getting back to pits and getting back out. But as soon as you do that, for example, if we take a look at Jörn Jens...
So Nieminen spins again at the same place. Sorry to interrupt you, and he spins again, losing another lap there. Carry on.
Yeah, he's losing another lap, and taking a look at Jörn Jens, that just shows exactly that. Jörn has done 26 laps of only 4 which were counted, so only 4 valid laps here. Even Tapani Linaloto, 20 laps done, only 8 counted, so not even 50% counted for most of the drivers here. It's just because the track has a very narrow off-track zone. It's generally very difficult, and as we're on board once again here with Jack Basford, it's just showing how much of a roller coaster ride this is here. A really good track for GT cars, and just a handful for these prototype cars, really.
And you say what about Nieminen as well. He's only done 2 timed laps in the session is 1 minute 7.378. He set early on in the session. That was actually his first flying lap, and then his second, a 1 minute 7.220. We think he can go at least a couple of tenths of a second faster. However, he needs to be able to get that final corner, which is where he's losing all of that speed. And for you people wondering why Marius sounds so sexy today, he does unfortunately have a cold, but he's putting through like a trooper.
Yeah, I can't really do much any other things because, well, this is just going to be one exciting race, one exciting track, and currently we have around 30 drivers qualifying here. Yeah, just over 30 in fact, 37. So once again the packed field here, and for the guys who've seen the previous races, yeah, bear with us and stay tuned for the second race especially, as that's going to be one exciting race.
We're going to go on board with Jesse Niemann, and as he tries once again to get in to perhaps that 1 minute 6 bracket, that's being optimistic. He's working his way, however, down through turn number 1 into the S's. He'll flick that car first to the right, and he goes off already, so his lap is going to be invalidated. He's going to have just one more chance to try and get the job done. Jesse Niemann, he is still sat in the second position. Gregor Hutu is the fastest driver at the moment at 1 minute 7.194, and Liam, he's got one more chance to try and get that pole position, and Niemann really has been pushing.
He has, and you can see how it is. As you said, he's only had minimal amounts of time lapse, and it's getting crucial now this stage in the championship, rounds 9 and 10. Those mistakes made earlier on in the season by both of these drivers are going to start going back to haunt them, and if they really want to try and stake their claim to this championship, it has to be in these final few moments of this qualifying session.
So we've got ourselves about 1.5 minutes until the checkered flag flies for Niemann, and he has got this one final opportunity. If he messes this one up, he will not be able to get back around the racetrack and onto the start-finish straight in time. So this is going to be it now for Jesse Niemann. And Marius, you talk about pressure for that free car. It is all about pressure.
Yeah, it's not only about pressure for Jesse here, but also David Williams just posting a new PB right there, 107.286, just shy of the time of Jesse here. Jesse's done a 2.20, so David with a 2.86, putting the car in the third position as for now.
So we will go back on board with Niemann. He's got a car just breezing past him. He was on a hot lap. You see just how these cars move out the way. They're trying to find themselves the gap. Now Niemann picks up the pace as he comes down the hill one more time. This is going to be the one that we're going to want to watch. Jesse Niemann on board of him as he comes past the start-finish line. He's going to go into turn number 1 as fast as humanly possible. He'll just flick down a couple of gears up that hill. Now he flicks it to the left-hand side, down into the S's. And Niemann has cut that curb nicely this time, a little bit wide on exit, but he's still powering on as he comes down the hill into this elusive turn number 5. And first part of the lap looking very good for Jesse Niemann, coming down this short straightaway now into turn number 6. You take it in third gear. You want to get as much speed as you can through here. Then you'll flip the car down into first. We're one of the slowest corners on the racetrack. Turn number 7. Niemann goes wide, a little bit too wide, but he gets away. No, he doesn't. Niemann is not going to be able to get pole position today. His lap was invalidated there as he went just a tiny bit too far to the left. And right now, Marius, that means Gregor Hutu is going to be our pole position guy unless Niemann can do something in these last couple of moments.
Yeah, and I doubt he will, because the checkered flag is in fact out, so all the drivers currently out on the track are able to finish their lap, but however not going to start a new one. Alexei Lomas still being on a hot lap, so we keep an eye on him as he is about to cross the start-finish line here. But we're not expecting further improvements of many drivers here, so Alexei might be one of the few to improve his time slightly.
Yeah, and Aloma comes past the start-finish line, and it is a 1 minute 7.735, so slower for Aloma. And he will stay where he is. This time Balau came past the line as well. Philip Stam just overshoots the chicane completely there. Didn't even think about braking. His last lap will be invalidated. Balau is on the racetrack. Basford is just spinning his car around. Martin Cronke, as he comes past the line, what can he do? It is a 1 minute 8.033, but it's very, very slow there for Martin Cronke. Cronke's really been off form here today. That's his fastest lap of the race, and he didn't even get into the 1 minute 7s.
Yeah, he didn't. And taking a look at the last few races where Martin made a good performance, especially winning the second round at Suzuka, he's made a good entry in the series, really. So he's one of the championship contenders so far in the challenging position for the lead, which Gregor Hutu still has, of course, with quite a big gap to second position. However, it seems like he's not really put much practice into this one, not having too much time. Well, it just shows that with a 1 minute 08.33, he should be way outside the top 10 for now.
Liam, any updates?
That was all line astern as the session came to a close, and it really is looking though like breaking into that 117 and under the 118 is a very hard feat to accomplish.
Indeed, yeah. So we're just going to total together the times from the 3 sessions, and very, very close field, however. Gregor Hutu, pole position, 1 minute 7.194. Jesse Niemanen tried his absolute best. However, he could only do a 1 minute 7.220. We talked about how he was struggling to get that car working out of the chicane. We'll see whether that's an interesting fact there. And Marius, the rest of it we're just currently working on. So in the meantime, however, we're going to have a quick look at this racetrack. We'll go in more detail. We've got ourselves a little bit of a video we'll show you a little bit later on in this, the ProtoICE pre-race show on GlacierTV. But Liam, we've all turned some laps around here. This track is very, very fast. But sector number 1, you've got to be so line perfect through the S's.
Yeah, absolutely, and that S's corner really can be crucial coming into the race. I mean, seeing a massive field through there, especially in race 2. We've said this before, race 1, the drivers get to know each other's lines through there, work out who their main competitors will be, and as soon as that grid gets reversed, as soon as we are going in race 2, that adrenaline fires up. You realise that sense of desperation that you maybe need a better result because you flunked in race 1, or you really want to try and get 2 exceptional results, and that's when the risky moves start coming in, especially that S's sector of the circuit is probably the most crucial to get right every single time.
Sector 2, just turn 6 and 7 really to care about. You can run wide in turn 5 without taking too much of a penalty. Turn 6, you want to get it down as much as you can, and then turn 7, it's really got to be good on the power coming out of that. We'll run through the final grid for the race in a moment. In the meantime, having a look at the championship standings, Marius, Gregor's got it all done once again because he's leading the championship and he's got himself pole position.
Yeah, he's basically done job so far, but we've seen it in a couple of other races. We've seen different downforce and aerodynamic configurations here. So we've got 3 different sets of aerodynamic and car balance sets. So basically from high downforce to low downforce, including the medium downforce setting. 3 settings, not only setting a different downforce, but also a different weight distribution, making the car significantly different on the start. So we've seen the start, for example, at Sebring with Gregor Hutu versus Jesse Niemanen once again, where Niemanen was running a low downforce setting and Hutu was running the medium downforce or high downforce even. So basically, with that downforce setting, you get more traction off the line. You can just apply the clutch a little bit more easy, and you get off the line a lot quicker. And Niemanen, despite having a good start, was just in a struggle, and Hutu was way past. However, we've got the same downforce setting. We're expecting all of the drivers to run the low downforce here. So it's really just on to how you're going to disengage the clutch, how you're going to put in the first gear, and how you're going to play with the clutch and the gas to get the car off the line without any wheel spin and without losing any traction there, as just a few centimeters of slip on the rear might lose you a couple of positions to the first turn already. So between Hutu and Niemanen in the first line, it's going to be tricky. David Williams, Ilkka Haapala in the second line, and also teammates Jack Baffert and Rico Alatalo in the third line. And especially Alatalo has been having very good starts on Motegi and Suzuka, so I'm expecting him to gain several positions if something goes wrong. However, all of the top 10 drivers should have their starts in place, and I'm still going to expect some of the drivers to do a little mistake, and we're just going to see how it plays out as soon as we go into turn 1.
Yeah, and to run through your champion, it is Gregor Hutu with 3 wins, 6 top 5 finishes, and 996 points, leading the way. Jesse Niemanen in second. He's got himself 2 wins and 5 top 5s with 764 points. Martin Kroenke in third. Timo Evenen in fourth. David Williams in 5th, Rico Alatalo in the 6th position, Paul Ilbrink in 7th, Roderick Cronin in 8th, Johan Jens in 9th, and Anthony Orselli rounding out your top 10. You got yourself Team Redline, My3ID Gaming, Inex Racing, Team Radicals, M Sports, all represented in the top 10. We're back in a minute after this your track lap guide for Road Atlanta. Of the Road Atlanta circuit on board of GlacierTV's own Marius Golombeck. We're in the car past start finish line and into turn number 1, enter about 170 miles an hour. Flick it down a gear, then to the right hand side, and you make sure you don't use too much of that curb on exit, otherwise you'll unsettle the car into the S's, shift down into third gear, hold that curb once again into the slowest part of it. Now you'll build up the speed as you flick it to the right, then the left, then the right again, then shift it down into third gear for turn number 5. You're going to use all the curb and the runoff there as much as possible. You see drivers really going to the extreme in qualifying. Turn number 6, shift it down into third gear, take a nice tight line in, then shift another 2 gears down into first. You're going to have to get yourself a good drive out here, straighten that car as quickly as possible. Now you're onto the back straightaway. They call it a straightaway, but of course there are a few kinks in it as you come up the hill. You can't see what's coming up ahead of you as you're already up into 6th gear, building up that speed, one of the fastest portions of the racetrack as you're approaching 175 miles an hour as you come down into the chicane, very slow, first gear, hold that curve to the left, then to the right once again. You come out, a little bit of oversteer there for Golombeck as he's now down the hill into the final corner, and that is a superb lap by Golombeck as he comes past the start-finish line. A lap from the eyes of Marius Golombeck there around Road Atlanta. We'll get back to that in a moment. However, it's time to run through your starting field. The top 20 drivers are Gregor Hutu with a time of 1 minute 7.194. Yassi Niemann will line up alongside him in row number 1. David Williams and Ika Hapala in row number 2, with Jack Basford in the 5th position, Ricky Alatalo in the 6th position, Letsky Loma in 7th, Paul Ilbrank 8th, John Jens in 9th, Anthony Orselli rounding out your top 10, Chris Damon Jr. in 11th, Roderick Cronin in 12th, Jason Love at 13th, Martin Kroenke disappointing for him in 14th, Troy Schultz in 15th, Darren Marsh in the 16th position, Klaus Ellenbrown 17th, Yoon Island in the 18th position, Dion Verges in 19th, and Juan Laniotto rounding out your top 20. Marius, I want to go back to that track guide. It's a hell of a lot of fun commentating it, but really does show how difficult this racetrack can be.
Yeah, it really shows, and you've seen the lap, and it was only 107.7, so still another half a second off the lead times here. 107.7 would have put me into 8th position there, just ahead of Paul Ilbring, and it just shows that 7 people have been quicker than that, and not just by 100 for a 10th, but half a second. It just shows how good the lap has to be to claim the pole here.
And Liam, this track, you know, it's very narrow, but you've got some nice overtaking opportunities. Not really in sector 1, but maybe turn 7. If you get a good run through 6, drive down the inside into 7, down into the chicane, they're probably going to be your 2 biggest overtaking zones of today.
Oh yeah, especially that chicane as well. You've got a nice long straight leading up to it, which gives you a prime opportunity to get in the slipstream. But of course, the elevation change can catch you by surprise if you're not too careful. You can't go in too hot on the brakes, or that chicane will punish you. There's some nasty barriers either side and a nasty gravel trap just up in front of you. But as you said, this track is extremely narrow. It's going to be a case of who really manages this track the best, and really just not who's too hot-headed, but who's really more conservative in their driving style, who wants to just wait a bit and see what happens in front of them. Because if the last 2 rounds are anything to go by, race 2 provides some fireworks, and with this track as well, the nature of it, the elevation changes, and the sheer amount of cars that we've got registered for today's event with that same hunger to try and climb those championship standings, there's going to be some inevitable fireworks. So it's just really going to be a case of spatial awareness and biding your time.
Yeah, and we've got the prices on your screen there, and it's not only the motivation of having a great race there, but also the motivation of grabbing some cash, at least for the top 5 finishers in the championship here, starting with the $75 and $100 for 5th and 4th, going up all the way to $500 in cash for the winner of the ProtoICE, and it's just going to be a great motivation here, especially because the difference between 1st and 2nd in prizes is quite a bit. For 2nd you only get 200, for 3rd you only get 125, which is still a good motivation to really get into the top 3. However, the main winner should be rewarded greatly, and by $500 he is rewarded. So we've still got a lot of prizes for the guys finishing inside the top 10, including IGP Manager membership subscriptions and iRacing credits, $50 and $25 for 6th and 7th. And we've not only got that, but also for the guys not finishing inside the top 10, but also the several Easter egg credits for the hard charges, for the safe drivers. So if you drive safe, if you're doing a hard charge, for example, if the second race is really your style, you've got a lot to win. It's really just worth running this series, and even if you don't finish inside the top 10, you're on for some prizes.
Can I have a bounty Easter egg? Just asking. No? Okay, we've got ourselves about 2.5 minutes left of this warm-up session, and you're seeing the grip on some of these cars. They are struggling down in turn number 7. Ristu there was involved in an incident down in turn number 7. There's Yunus the Korean as well down the front straightaway, just showing how slippery this racetrack is. And I think, you know, we've always the start. For some reason, we always choose the narrowest tracks to race on. And Marius, the start once again, fast corner, very narrow turn 2. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it really is, especially because the grid is quite a bit far behind the first turn. So if you're standing in, for example, 20th position, you're standing almost on the uphill section there, coming down from the last turn. So you're standing straight, basically in the top 10, and then it goes all the way up. And it's really going to be difficult. I think it's going to be around 19th to 25th position, where you're inside a little turn, and you want to get the car away from the line with as much traction as you can, but you just have to steer to get on the finish straight. And in GT cars, we've had the ProtoICE test here, we've had the Petit Le Mans earlier this year, and we've just seen how difficult it is to get the car off the line. And of course, we have a standing start there, and in the Petit Le Mans, we had the running, the Indianapolis start, of course, being a lot easier here. But this is just going to put the drivers to a test once again. We've had difficult starting situations this season, but this is going to be one of the shortest runs to the first turn we have. And
don't forget, you keep in contact with us on Twitter, hashtag ProtoICE, on Facebook, facebook.com/GlacierTV, live timing available, isowc.org/live, and the checker flag will be out in about 40 seconds time here. We'll be racing for 30 minutes in heat number 1, then we'll invert the top 20 drivers for heat number 2. Heat number 2, if you haven't seen it before, always produces magical moments, and last time out it was just outstanding seeing drivers charging through the field, especially going a little bit wide there in turn number 2.
Yeah, and the thing is to race 2 as well, as we've said every round so far, race 1 you just get to know the drivers, get to know the best lines to overtake if you don't already, and who your main rivals are. Race 2, especially at this stage in the season, more vital than ever. The start's important, but now if you need to make up for lost ground, this is the time. If you've got off to a bad start, then you really need to start building up those positions, and we may very well see a different side to some of the drivers here today.
Indeed, and the checkered flag is out, so drivers are going to be lining up on the grid momentarily. Marius, final thoughts?
One of the most difficult rounds in the season. Same situation at the top, same situation in the mid pack. Once again, Hutu versus Nieminen, and if I'd have to place my bets, Jesse's having some good starts, but just with the different downforce settings, I really think Riku is going to make some positions from 6th, but I can't really say who's going to take the lead into the first turn.
I've got a feeling Williams is going to have the best race of his season here today. To run through your top 10 one more time, Gregor Hutu lining up in first place. Yes, Niemann alongside him in the second position. David Williams in third. Ika Hapala in fourth. Jack Bastard in the fifth spot. Ricky Alatalo in sixth. Aleski Loma in seventh. Paul Ulbrink in eighth. Jorn Jens in ninth. And Anthony Orselli rounding out your top 10. We'll be racing for 30 minutes around this, the Road Atlanta circuit. So much to talk about here today on Glacier TV, bringing you live and uninterrupted. The lights are about to go on. The iRacing.com Grand Prix, they'll go red and then they'll go green for 30 minutes worth of racing. And we'll wait for them a little bit longer. And now they're out. Now we go green, and a good start by Alona actually. He's trying to make it 3 wide down into turn number 1. It's going to be so close. The top 2 drivers, top 3 drivers, single file. But Alona, a great start by him as he moves himself up into the 5th position and almost touching the 24 car of Anatalo to come down to turn 3.
Yeah, it seems like Jack Bashford had some contact with his teammate Rico Alatalo, clipping his rear slightly. Car of Rico is damaged and Jack has lost his front cover there. So a lot of struggle for the aerodynamics there, but no changes at the lead. Gregor Hutu still in front of Niemann and Williams.
So Niemann is in second position.
There's a massive bit of contact as Klaus Allen Brown's involved. Pablo Lopez caught up and so is Chris Damron Jr. A massive carnage bit there. The rest of the field somehow managing to navigate their way around it. It's another minute car, it's a car flying in the air. And Pablo Lopez catches some air, I believe, in the background. But car stop on the side, Scott Bircher. Alexia Loma is out of the way, starting from 8th on the grid, is now limping around with what seems to be half a car. Incredible scenes there. We said the second race would throw some fireworks, but this has been a bonfire display.
Indeed, yeah, drivers are trying to bring their cars back down towards pit road. Having a look at Loma's car, it's like not got anything on it at all. It is, however, Gregor Hutu leading the way in the completion of lap number 1. Neiman in second, Williams in third, Hapana in fourth, Jorn Jens moving himself up into the 5th position, and carnage there as they work their way through turn number 5 in the first lap, Marius.
Yeah, absolute carnage as Alexi loses the car in turn 5 down the S's into the left-hander. He lost the car going over the curb, clipped the wall, and then shot all the way back on the straight, taking out not only Rico Latolo but also several other drivers, Risto Uniline and Jack Basford also in the pits right now. So several drivers already ending their race here, not only completing 1 lap. I believe we've got about 6 or 7 people involved in this start crash. Pablo Lopez, Nukirainen, Pascal Nicholas, TK Yazagak, Rob Risto Uniline also in the pit, Chris Damron Jr. out, and the last one running currently is Stefan A. Schmidt in 29th position, in fact.
And of course, Pablo Lopez, his woes in the first race continue yet again. And Pablo Lopez, one of the most liked drivers in the series, struggling in the first race one more time. Having looked through the field, there's a little bit of separation between drivers, but Martin Kroenke trying to work his way on Roger Cronin as they're coming down the hill to put their second lap in the books. And Kroenke, from starting 14th, he's been able to avoid most of these incidents, and now he's working in the 9th position.
Yeah, and by finishing in the mid-pack, Martin has shown on Suzuka that he's one of the strongest guys in the second race. Currently in 9th position here. The fight for 20th position currently is underway. Konrad Hütten occupying the 19th spot, Karl Fredrik Herzog in the 20th, and Joe Jr. just behind them in the 21st spot. And then it's already quite a gap to the drivers behind, so actually only 21 drivers currently fighting for positions here very closely.
Yeah, and there's a car very slow. That is a Loma still trying to get his car somehow back towards pit road. I have no idea why he sat there. Surely that car will not be repairable. But Gregor Hutu with a 7/10 of a second gap over Jesse Nieminen, and Nieminen is looking down to the inside. He will try and complete the pass. He does almost complete the pass. They almost touch. They do touch there. Nieminen is still too wide to come up the hill. Now they'll come down it, and Nieminen is trying. He'll have the outside line. This is not going to make it easy for him down into turn number 1, but too wide to come past the strike. Just 26, 1,000 for a second. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? It is going to be Hutu, just able to hang on there, but Nieminen gave it all of his worth.
How long is Hutu going to be able to hang on? They come into the S's one more time, and Neiman has got to be careful where he places his move now. That looked like it was going to work. He almost had it, but if there was a bit of contact, you've got David Williams and Ilka Hapala, who would love a taste of that second position right now. Ilka Hapala gets a great run on the back of David Williams, signed, sealed, delivered, and David Williams just got a bit wide on the exit there, and that allowed Hapala to snatch that position from him, and Gregor Hutu will be hoping he does not commit a mistake of the same expenses.
I'm yours, is all I'm going to say to that one, but Nieminen very close once again. I think Niemenen's running a little bit less wing than Gregor Hutu. Hutu got a bad run out of turn 7 that last lap, which was what able to mean that Nieminen could close up. He's not as close this time by as they come down into the chicane. A little bit further back, we have a battle between Lanayoto and Ellenbrand. They are working very close in the racetrack in the battle for the 11th and 12th positions. And it looks as though, Marius, this feels a lot more spread out than we've seen previously in the series.
Yeah, it does, and especially that half of the field is either out or completely having to repair their car. Dion Verge is currently in 23rd, already more than half a lap down here. And for example, 25th, Jason Lovett is the first one to DNF here. Several cars currently trying to complete the race at least, but with so much damage, for example, Alexei Loma just crap walking the car around the track, just now noticing that it's really too much to go on here. And it's just going to be way difficult to keep your car on the track. But we have to remember, if more cars do DNF here, if more drivers don't make the finish, you're still going to get into 20th position with a slightly damaged car and maybe even a lap down.
Yeah, but at the same time, you raise the issue with how will you drive a damaged car on the racetrack. Of course, race control will be keeping an eye to see whether drivers are causing issues that they shouldn't be by driving a damaged car on the racetrack. We've got a four-way battle This is from 11th all the way down to 14th on the racetrack. You've got yourself Ellen Brown, Laniotto, Backman and Thiessen very closely separated on the racetrack, and they've got a Loma still crab walking that car 103 miles an hour down the back straightaway, and they all sweep past them, but hopefully these guys won't go too wide while Loma is driving that damaged car out front. Hutu with a 7/10 of a second gap over Nieminen, and we have word that Kroenke is out of the race.
Yeah, it looks like it. Martin is out of the race. I'm just trying to rewind the replay to see what has happened. And it is in fact an incident in the first turn. Martin is turning in, but he has the left side of his car on the grass, clipping a tire on the grass and then slamming into the wall rearwards, damaging the rear of his car, and he notices immediately, trying to get out of the grass, that that is not going to get him far. So another DNF on our hands here. Martin Kroenke from 10th position down all the way, currently in 18th, being tossed down the grid. And guys, we're almost minimized the grid down to the top 20 already.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Road Atlanta, one of the more difficult racetracks that we'll be paying a visit to in the ProtoICE 1000 Cup season. I will get my words out at some point, I promise. However, it's getting to that point, as you were saying. Brendan Whitaker currently is in 20th position, and in fact he's up to 19th. It's now Stefan Schmidt, 1 minute 5 behind the race leader, who's in that 20th position. We're happening for a scenario that we've never had before, where 20th position could be done and dusted before the end of the race.
It could be, and I think that you made a good point that this is one of those circuits which I think will determine a champion. If you want to make a race win here, this is going to be the track to do it. It's just in front now, so Conrad Hutton has made a bit of a spin, and he's done that on the chicane. I wonder if we'll get that going again.
Yeah.
He's just waiting for the cars to get round. He's finally got it round from P14, who was amongst that battle, and unfortunately just got a bit too deep in there. But we've seen already, we've only had a few laps. We've on lap 7, and it's just been crazy. And as you said, we're almost down to the top 20, and we didn't expect, I think, such a high attrition rate. And because of that, this is going to be one of those races which determines your overall position. You'll look back at it and you'll think, okay, I did the best I could there, or you'll think that race was slightly disappointing and kind of dampen my championship hopes, or could have lost it, as Nick Thiessen has a look on Henry Backman now round the outside. Very well defended by Henry Backman, but look at that, he had a bit of a wobbly exit as he went in towards the next corner, and I wonder if Nick Thiessen's going to get in the back of that slipstream. This is the best overtaking opportunity on this circuit, in my opinion. Can he utilise that and try and get this P12 under his belt? He's in the best position to do so right now. He looks to the outside of the chicane, very well defended once again by Backman on that inside line, but Thiessen has a little bit more speed, meaning he has to brake a bit earlier. Will Backman brake later? He swoops it round, and he does that very sweetly. Textbook stuff there from Thiessen. He moves up to P12.
So Thiessen up into the 12th position now. However, keeping an eye on that battle for the 20th position, Dion Vergers is currently in the 20th spot, and he's not circulating on the racetrack. Scott Bircher, just by virtue of staying on the racetrack, is going to take away that 20th position from Dion Vergers, as the 2 car is out of the race. Scott Bircher goes past the start-finish line, and he is now in that 20th position. And Marius, this is really a crazy race at the moment. Scott Bircher, just by the virtue of staying on the racetrack, is now going to be your provisional pole position guy for heat number 2.
Yeah, he is, and I'm just trying to look through the grid to see if more people are running here, but it seems like Pasi Valtonen currently in 23rd, being 1 lap down to Scott Bircher even. So he's one of the guys also keeping the car on track, just trying to finish this race, and Pasi being the last one running here, as Dion Vergers and Martin Kroenke are still ahead of him, but DNF'd. So 21 cars still on the grid, and remember, we started with 37 and we're only in lap 8 here. So quite a drop out here. Sorry, we're in fact in lap 9 already, but that doesn't really change the situation. 21 cars still on the track, and well, if one car DNFs, it's still going to be a question of who's going to get 20th.
Indeed, and we're going to show you a replay of the start in just a moment. And I say the start itself was okay. It was just the kind of second part of the start, once these cars had gotten themselves out of turn number 1, that it all kind of went horribly wrong. And it all started, I think, kind of through the field. You had a Loma, he was working his way, and the start of the replay, they say the start itself wasn't too bad, Marius.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Cars got quite cleanly through the first turns. We had a little bit of contact there, especially between Basford and Enrico Alatalo. Basford causing to lose the front of his car here, but except for that, we didn't really have any contact there, so the car's getting cleanly through the first couple of turns. But then when Alexi Aloma lost the car, went over the right curb, and that is going to be one of the most critical points in race 2. I'm quite sure of that. Turn 5 here, getting on the curb, and the car just settles on the ground. It just hits the ground with the ground plate. It just goes off and it goes into the wall and just rebounds back right on the track, and there's nothing Alexi could do at that point anymore. Just slingshotting back into the whole grid and taking out several cars. And yeah, if you're running into such a crash, you're pretty much just yeah, you've got no exit there. You'll just have to accept your destiny, and you're most likely going to be DNFing if you run into such a thing.
And for all the Aloma fans, he did manage to bring that car finally onto pit road, so congratulations to Aloma for that. To run through your top 5, it is Gregor Hutu with an 0.8 gap over Niemann. He's not been able to challenge ever since he had that run down the chicane at about lap number 3. Ika Hapala is in 3rd, David Williams in 4th, Jorn Jans running out your top 5, then Ilbrandt, Cronin, Marsh, Rosselli and Lanaiotto rounding out your top 10. And I have to say, really it's settled down with this smaller field. We've got Edinburgh and Thiessen and Junior still battling for position on the racetrack, however.
Yeah, indeed. This is really heating up as well now, and especially as we get in towards this halfway stage of the race. We're going to be thinking about race strategy. Was back at the front, it's 0.9 seconds the gap between Hutu and the SC Niemann at the moment. And Niemann was all over him a few laps ago, so I wonder if maybe those tyres have stepped away from him. He's playing a bit more conservative as Ilka Hapala. He's got a problem.
Niemann, yeah, he's got
a problem.
He had to slow down.
Williams, yeah.
He had to slow down. I think he cut turn number 5 just perhaps a little bit too much. In fact, he was slowing it down all the way through the S's.
Ooh, wait a second, guys, wait a second. Conrad Hutten actually had an incident. Yeah, that was it. Conrad Hutten coming, I think it was, I wasn't really sure if he came off the pits, but no, he's actually been on the track, but he's completely hit Jesse there, and Jesse's front is absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, Hutton's car, it was circling on the racetrack. He didn't come out of pit road, but it was very slow. He has no front to his car at all. Came into the corner and just got T-boned there by Niemann. Niemann didn't realise just how slow he was going. His car is still circling, but is way off the pace now. And he's still going, knowing the fact that this field is in such a state that he can carry on going. But this is hugely disappointing for Niemann. We're getting a replay on the screen now. It's down into turn number 2 on lap number 11, and it just looked as though he came into the corner, saw the fact the car was going slowly, the car kind of tried getting out of his way, and he was on the brakes already down into turn number 2. Just nowhere to go for him, Marius.
Yeah, nowhere to go, and you just see it as Conrad just not taking a look in his mirrors and absolutely in the way of Jesse there. Nothing he could do, and that brings us another different opportunity. Just take a look now. Gregor is already passed, and yeah, Conrad Hutten being in front of Jesse right now, and boom, there you go, and it's just nothing Jesse could do right there. Conrad Hutten being exactly ahead of him, and just completely nowhere to go for Jesse. The front of his car being damaged, but also Conrad Hutten completely out of the race, not really surprised by that. However, he's being tossed down the grid, and Pasi Valtanen, who has been our 21st, is now going to be 20th.
Indeed, and that is one of the issues that we did raise when we saw the fact that so much of the field was taken out. People are just running on the racetrack to try and get themselves into that 20th position, and you have to question, at the speed that Hutten was going, whether or not he should have even been on the racetrack in the first place. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion after this first race as Niemann brings his car onto pit road, whether or not he should have been. Niemann is going to try and get some repairs to his race car, but this really is going to hurt his championship cause, even with the fact that he's got the chance to throw one race away. Niemann really right now is out of the picture.
Yes, and it's a big shame as well. This is what I said earlier. Well, this track is really going to be one to shape up this championship, where drivers will look back and either reminisce or look back in despair with their heads in their hands. And unfortunately for Jesse, it's looking like it's going to be the latter at the moment. He really does need an exceptional race too. For him now, what's important, I think, is to try and focus on maybe trying to snatch that 20th position, but it's not looking very promising.
Checking in on the battle for 7th and 8th positions on the racetrack, you've got Darren Marsh in the 68 car with Anthony Rosselli close behind as they're working their way down to the chicane once again. And we know how good Rosselli is putting the pressure on other drivers. We saw it in the iRacing Grand Am Premier Series. We've seen it in this, the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup. Just looking as though he can't get close enough to Marsh down the straightaways, however. In fact, that is where Marsh is putting out the majority of his time. And for Rosselli right now, Marius, it's just a case of trying to force perhaps Marsh into a mistake.
Yeah, he's just trying as hard as he can, really, and we've seen it can work, and it's not only Marsh, but also now Scott Bercher, our 19th position, just ahead of the 20th position to Passive Altanen. He's going to let these guys pass right now, and, well, they are pretty much in a class of their own, about 4 seconds to the front, about 12 seconds to the rear, so not really anything they can do but fight each other. And maybe now Anthony Rosselli gets the chance as Marsh goes a little bit wide there on the entry, still manages to get the speed out of the turn. However, Rosselli has to back off a little. He's still getting the slipstream down the straight, but with that much of a distance, the straight is long, yes I know, but it's not going to be enough on the braking.
Yeah, he had to be the last of all of the late breakers to make it happen down the inside into the chicane. You see there, Marsh not even defending the lines. They come down into that set of corners. They flick it to the left and then to the right as they come up the hill. You can actually get some good acceleration up there as you come over the crest. Now down into the final corner. This is the battle for 7th and 8th positions on the racetrack. Ahead of them, you've got yourself Jorn Jens and Paul Ilbrandt separated by just 1.1 seconds on the racetrack in the battle for the 4th position. And we talked about Ilbrandt earlier on. He's one of those drivers running double duty. He was in the iRacing.com Pro Series of road racing at Phillip Island early on today. A good finish for the Radicals driver. And Liam going a little bit wide there in turn 5, but Ilbrandt looking as though he's having himself a very promising weekend.
Yeah, he has. He really has been consistent, and that's what you need to be successful in this championship. He would love a top 5 today, and it's been great to see him this season really mature as a driver. And right now you can see just in front of him is Jorn Jens in P4, and he would love to move up that one more position. It's going to be very close to him coming in towards the end of this race, because you can see that rear end of Jorn's car, and it's just going to spur him on, isn't it? It's going to really give him some motivation as to, look, I'm not too far away until I can really go for this one. As they come into that chicane, he's definitely reeling him in right now, but the question is, can he get there in time? He's got around 12 minutes left on the clock, so it's definitely within touching distance. Let's see what Paul can do from here.
And 2nd and 3rd position battling on the racetrack as well. David Williams actually goes wide and he spins it there in the 36 car. Can he keep it out of the wall? No, he can't. Into the wall for the 36 car. David Williams, I was just about to say how he's having one of the better races of his season. It looks as though he had a bit of a wiggle as he tried to get back on the power. We'll see whether or not he can get that car working. It's very twitchy through turn 5, but it's going to be hugely disappointing, Marius, for your teammate David Williams.
Yeah, it is, and well, not only between my teammates, but also in the general grid, we've got half of the grid out of the race once again. 18 people running here, and we started with 37, so even one more than that. So it's just amazing. I think the friendly words from the race officials before the race haven't really reached the ears here, but it's just amazing. I mean, the start crash for once, but the rest is, I mean, we've got 13 people involved in start crash incidents and having to retire from that, and the rest is the driver mistakes, and that has been quite narrow. So taking the incident between Hutten and Nieminen out, we've only had about 4 mistakes from drivers here, costing them to end their races, and that is still good for such a track.
Whoa,
however, with the start incidents, just insane.
Going to interrupt you there, but it looks like Paul Ilbrandt has indeed got past David Williams, and it was a nice little move. David tried to defend it, but he just didn't quite have the speed after that spin. He's still trying to recuperate, as Croonin now fancies his chance to go into the S's. Not through there, surely. He's going to round the outside of the S's, and luckily Williams not put too much of a fight, where that could have ended catastrophically, as now you can see Paul Ilbrandt tries to navigate his way past Voltanen, and he's done that very well. So up into P4 for Ilbrandt, and his weekend is getting better on from here.
Yep, and Ilbrandt, I think it was a case that Williams was just trying to try and let him pass at a convenient time. They were single file. You have to be single file for that final corner for the most part. And the way that Williams' car was running, you know, he really couldn't try and twitch that car too much. Otherwise, he probably would have ended up in the wall. But Ilbrandt now up into the 4th position. I was about to say how Williams is actually closing on Ika Hapala in the battle for the 2nd position before that incident. And Marius, the track here, the grass, as at a couple of other places, is very, very slip-slidey. And on a car with this much downforce, you take them out of their comfort zone, and they're just going to go spinning like a top.
Yeah, and well, it's not gonna just send you spinning, but also the walls aren't really that far from the curb. So once it sends you off the track, we've seen it with Dave, you can't really make the car stay off the wall. So you've got the momentum, you're running on a really high speed through these turns, and it's just nothing you can do really.
So it is Gregor Hutu, still your race leader, with a little under 10 minutes in the session left to go. Hika Hapala 4 seconds behind, and we've got to start thinking about the championship picture now. Hutu, once again, has been dominant. Once again, he's kept his car clean. And, however, Jesse Nieminen is now sat in the 20th position. He is 4 laps down. Konrad Hütten is 3 laps behind him and not circulating on the racetrack. Nieminen's got a bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card here now, but Hutu, once again, just surprisingly good.
Oh yeah, and it's just vintage Gregor Hutu, isn't it, at the end of the day? This is why he's as successful as he is. He's capitalised on every opportunity given to him. You put him in any situation and the man just seems to perform. He came under intense pressure from Jesse Nieminen earlier on, but he stood his ground. He held on knowing what was at stake here. Ronanta didn't want to defend too hard, but he defended substantially enough to get the job done. And look where he is now. He's in the lead with a 4-second gap over Ilkka Hapala.
And at this time, we'd like to welcome into the GlacierTV booth Jesse Nieminen. And Jesse, it was just a catastrophic mistake there down into turn number 2. Take us through it, and was there anything that you could have done differently at all?
Yeah, there was a left car there, and I just didn't ever envision him turning back to the racing line, and yeah, there was really nothing I could do there.
And it was hugely disappointing for you because, you know, you were side by side with Hutu through the chicane, past the start-finish line on 1 lap. You were within a second of him all race long. And for it to all go wrong there for you must be rather annoying, despite the fact that you're likely to start heat 2 from the pole position now.
Yeah, at least it looks like I got pole, but yeah, of course it's frustrating. It's just a video gaming, so what can you do?
What can you do indeed, unfortunately, for Jesse Nieminen. He involved in an incident there with the lapped car, Konrad Hütten. Down into turn number 2, he is out of the race, however will likely start race number 2 from the pole position. Jesse Nieminen there in the 34 car. And checking in on this battle developing on the racetrack still, Darren Marsh and Raselli, Marius, still separated by less than 1 second on the racetrack, but Raselli not able to do anything at all about the 68 car, Darren Marsh.
Yeah, we've had the situation just a few laps ago where Darren Marsh just gets the exit right out of these slow right-handers onto the straight, and as long as he keeps doing that, there's really no chance for Raselli to get the drive, to get the chance to outbrake Darren Marsh into the last turn. He really has to wait for a mistake, and once again they come around the turn, and Marsh just flicks the car in, trying to get out of the turn as cleanly as he can, and it's just absolutely perfect exit. And once again Darren Marsh just manages he gains 1 length of a car gap out of the turn. That's exactly what he needs to keep a safe distance to Raselli there. However, we may not forget they both gained 1 position by the crash of David Williams and Jesse Nieminen earlier. So 6 and 7 for Marsh and Raselli, and that's still a lot of points for both of them.
Indeed, and we've got ourselves a little over 5 minutes of this race left to go. Things have got themselves a little bit separated. We've still got Juan Laniotto and Nick Thiessen also battling for position on the racetrack. Laniotto's last lap time was a 1 minute 10.3. Compare that to a 1 minute 9.5 for Thiessen. Of course, Laniotto had to work his way around the lap traffic last time by. We'll check in on that gap. Thiessen lost out this time by a 1 minute 10.8 for Thiessen, and you compare that to 1 minute 10.0 for Laniotto. And I think this is something that we can build into for race 2. That passing, you've got to time the moves, and if you're behind a slower car in the S's, you're going to lose yourself, Marius, a barrel load of time.
Yeah, barrel a lot of time, and we've seen you can also gain a lot of time there. Keeping an eye on Anthony Raselli still, and he's been very close to Darren Marsh in the SS over and over again, but it doesn't help him. He's getting closer and closer under braking, he's getting closer in the turn, and that's just, yeah, it's basically just distracting for him to keep so close distance to him. And once again, we're coming down now, entering the 22nd lap, and Raselli is just I'm not really saying he's faster by a lot, but he's got the better car through these S's, and Marsh might even have a little bit of damage there, but you really will see this time by how Roselli hits these turns. Of course, he's got the kind of ghost car head, so he really knows when to turn in, but in these turns he makes up so much time. That's what he needs to do when he gets out of the slow right-hander onto the final, onto the long straight, of course, and yeah. To do that, he has to wait for a mistake of Marsh, and he's almost running out of time. 5 minutes left.
And meanwhile, Laniotto closing up to the rear of David Williams. Williams, of course, has that damage. Laniotto is now going to have to wait until probably the exit of turn 5 to be able to do anything about it, because it is pretty much single file for the most part through the S's. And you just see how close he is to him as he come out of turn number 5. This will be his chance to get a run as they come down perhaps into turn number 6. You see Laniotto already looking down to the left-hand side. Williams trying to come across, but he knows it is futile. He will try and make the pass happen there. It didn't manage to work for him, however, and now Laniotto is going to have to do it down this long back straightaway. David Williams trying to keep hold of 8th position on the racetrack. Nick Thiessen is close behind him, so that will probably move David Williams down into the 10th position. Joe Jr. is actually not that far back as well, so things going backwards for David Williams, Liam, as Joe Jr. is now on the charge as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's definitely looking like the case at the moment. There's also, you're taking a look on your screen just a minute ago, there was a tiny little battle for P9 and P10 between Nick Thiessen and Linalotto, and this is getting very tense indeed. 3 minutes to go now, and it's really trying to fight for that extra position. It's not just bragging rights. Every position means bigger points, and at this stage in the season, you need as many as you can possibly grab. Nick has made some impressive moves already here today. He wants to add another one to that list as he follows now his kind of enemy, if you will, Tapani through the S's. Going to be very close now. I'm just wondering, has Nick got it in him? Because we've seen so many mistakes here today, Will. The last thing he wants to do is jeopardise a top 10 result for one more position. It's not really worth it, is it? Unless the opportunity comes to him, it's not worth diving up the inside thinking that you're going to make the move if it just ends up you're sat in the pit lane watching Tapani take all the glory.
Indeed, yeah, and I think that you've got the two forms of racing there, so going too wide ahead of them. That's just Nick Thiessen passing Braden Whittaker. But you have the two things going on here. You have racing for position. You also have the racing for the championship as well. I think that might be something coming into the mind of Thiessen, and perhaps Laniotto as well. He's had some difficult races in the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup. I think if Thiessen does try and stick it down the inside, he probably won't racing too aggressively, because both these drivers now set for a nice top 10 finish with just over 2.5 minutes of this race left to go. Gregor Hutu has a 6.1 second gap over Ika Hapana, and we have to say that Hutu is purely on cruise control mode now, getting himself past Carl Frederick Hersong, Henry Backman, Passy Bolton in that last lap. We've got ourselves now just 12 cars on the lead lap. We've got 3 cars 1 lap down. At 20th position is still held on by Jesse Niemann, and that is pretty much now guaranteed. So Niemann will start race number 2 from the pole position. I have to say though that for me the standout driver has really been Jorn Jens. We haven't talked about him, but Marius, just a nice solid drive, and he's going to pick up a ton of points from nowhere by finishing in 3rd position. And as they say, to finish first you have to finish.
Yeah, exactly, that's it. And Jan has already won a championship race here at Road America, where he finished 20th after a controversial fight against Dion Burgess right up to the finish line, and of course started on pole position there, winning the race at that time, being ahead of Gregor Hutu by a few seconds. So he's got to take a breath at the winning positions here, but 3rd position there in the first race, especially being good. He's only started in 9th, of course showing that several cars ahead of him have also DNF'd. For example, Alexia Loma, Rico Alatalo, Jack Basford, David Williams and Jesse Niemann have all DNF'd, so that would only leave Ilka Harpala and Paul Ilbrink ahead of him. And Ilbrink is still trying to chase him down, however, there's about 4 seconds between Roderick Kroinen and Jörn Jens, and then another 2 seconds between Ilbrink and Kroinen, so not really much he can do there. However, behind them there's still the fight going on between Marsh and Roselli, but like we said a few seconds ago, this fight needs a bit more time, and Gregor Hutu is in the 2nd to last lap, so they are pretty much running out of time right now.
Yeah, Gregor Hutu has been dominant once again here in the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup. The championship leader coming in, he's likely, unless something crazy happens ahead of him, likely going to win race number 1. Of course, that means he'll be starting this race from the 20th position, as you have a very slow battle. This is 11th and 12th. David Williams and Klaus Ellenbrand, both damaged cars on the racetrack, and I'm sure Hutu is just going to get out the throttle and let them guys go at it if they need to. Hutu has got himself literally about 1 lap to go. In fact, it's going to be very close as they come past the start-finish line to see whether or not they do need the extra lap as well. But indeed, they are going to come past the start-finish line, and the white flag is going to be handed this time by, and Hutu now going to work his way around David Williams as the white flag is flying. Liam.
Yeah, so Hutu on towards the final lap down, and it's been an exceptional race for him, hasn't he? He's done such a good job here today. He qualified in P1. He's retained that lead the entire race, and he's keeping it going, isn't he? He just has made no flaws this afternoon. But just look at the man, I think, in P2 and 3, Jorn Jens and Ilka Hapala, Roderick Kroon in P4 and Paul Lieber in P5. These men have been so consistent, and when they have made moves, they have not been, you know, that exceptional.
Rosselli passed. I think Rosselli just managed to get himself past Darren Marsh there on the last lap of the race. I don't know what happened at all there, but Marsh is very slow coming out the final corner, and that meant that Rosselli was able to get past him, and we believe that Darren Marsh had a slowdown penalty and the chicane. That meant that Rosselli, after being stuck behind Darren Marsh for pretty much the entire race, moves himself up and to the 6th position. Meanwhile, Gregor Hutu into the final chicane for the final time for the first race. He's going to have to do it all again from the 20th position in a little over 20 minutes time. In the meanwhile, however, Gregor Hutu takes victory at Road Atlanta, and Ilka Hapala coming past the start-finish line now. He is going to take the 2nd position. Jorn Jens will take 3rd. Roderick Cronin coming down the hill now. He is going to try and take 4th position. And we have to say, Darren Marsh actually looking as though he is out of fuel, or very light on fuel. He's working himself down the back straightaway at 100 miles an hour. And this is going to be really, really close to Darren Marsh. He's got himself Anthony Rosselli already passing. Laniotto, we believe, is very close to him. Marsh has got himself the chicane and the final corner to go. Darren Marsh has just got to get himself up the hill now. As long as he's got enough fuel to get up, he can roll it down from there. Laniotto coming down into the chicane. It looks as though Darren Marsh will just have enough fuel. The start-finish line is so early here, and he's going to come home in the 7th position. And that, Marius, was lucky for the 68 car.
Yeah, it really was, and he can just be quite glad that he finished in that position. He still lost about 20 seconds, so imagine that. Last lap 1 minute 29 there, 20 seconds off his normal pace. Anthony Rosselli might have been thinking about that Marsh has got a slowdown, of course, not slowing down after that, because the slowdown usually costs you about 1.5, and that still would put Marsh only right behind Rosselli, so it wouldn't have been completely over for him. But as Rosselli saw, of course, that Marsh dropped further and further, I think it's also been quite clear for Rosselli that Marsh had a severe issue, being, of course, the fuel this time by. And that leaves Darren Marsh in the 7th position here. Not losing further positions is quite lucky. Tapani, Lina Roto, Nick Thiessen, and Joe Jr. completing the top 10. And the top 10 are the only ones within 1 lap. And Joe Jr. 57 seconds behind our leader. And Klaus Illenbrand and David Williams both with quite a damaged car, already 1 lap down.
So then, to run through your entire race results, Gregor Hutu, 6.3 seconds gap over Ilka Hapala. We could ask what could have been if Jesse Niemann was still involved in that race, because they had some great battles on the racetrack. We'll come to Niemann in a moment. But Hutu, 6.3 seconds over Ilka Hapala in the battle for the 1st position. Jorn Jens in 3rd, Roderick Cronin in 4th. Paul Ilbrink, best result for him of the season, in 5th. Anthony Rosselli taking 6th position away from Darren Marsh on the last lap of the race. Marsh comes home in 7th, able to save enough fuel to get it to the line. Tapano Laniotto in 8th. Nick Thiessen in 9th, and Joe Jr. rounding out your top 10. Klaus Ellenbrand, David Williams, Carl Frederick Herzog, Henry Backman, Michael Kronberg, Stefan Schmidt, Braden Whitaker, Scott Bircher, Pasi Vatanen, and Jesse Niemann rounding out your top 20 to run through the list of retirees, and it's a long one. From Jesse Niemann, you had then Jack Basford, Conrad Hootem, Dion Burgess, Martin Kroenke, Aleski Aloma, Troy Schultz, Istvan Badal, Philip Dunn, Jason Lover, Rico Alataulo, Risto Unilian, Pascal Nicolas, Chris Diamond Jr., Pablo Lopez, Eunice Nakuri, TJ Yazek, and Rob Kuss, all out of the race. That equates to pretty much half of the field retiring from this race here today. We'll talk more a little bit about that after this short video.
engines, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing.
So welcome back to Road Atlanta. First of the heat in the books, the second one coming in a little over 15 minutes time. So we've got ourselves a little bit of time in the GlacierTV mid-race show, I don't know what we call these things, to run through a little bit more. And we're going to go back to the start of the race. Marius, we did tell everyone to behave in turn number 1 and 2. They did that. And then they thought, okay, we're out of that, let's go racing. And then turn number 5 came.
Yeah, I think it was really, if we tell them to behave in lap 1, the incidents start happening at the first turns in lap 2. I really don't know what to say anymore. The drivers should know from the previous rounds that the starts are absolutely insane most of the time, and it's just, yeah, I don't think most of them have learned, and this time the first few turns have been good, but the first lap doesn't really end with the first 2 turns, and they all know Road Atlanta, they all know how tricky it's going to be, and well, the only thing is there's no impact on your safety and iRating, of course, but yeah, I think if it had, most of the drivers would have lost their license today.
And we have to ask that question. Is it a big difference, the fact that these drivers aren't racing for iRating, safety rating? Because a number of these drivers, you know, race in the Grand Prix World Championship Series or the iRacing.com Pro Series of road racing, and we see incidents there. I mean, we saw a car flipping over the pit wall in the Pro race today. But for the most part, the starts are a lot cleaner. And let's not take it away. There are a number of drivers actually getting caught up in incidents that aren't their own. And all you need is 2 drivers to have an incident and the entire track gets blocked.
Yeah, and you just saw that on the screen. We're just showing you a few replay pictures here of the race start. And you've just seen how close it actually is. It just is enough if one car loses it. It was at that point Alexi Loma just settling the car on the ground, going haywire, going into the wall, and rebounding back. And that's just enough. I mean, you've got 20 cars coming right behind you, coming right at you then. And that's just enough. That's all it needs to, yeah, really kick off a mass incident, if you will. But yeah, I wouldn't really have expected so much mayhem on the other tracks, but Road to Atlanta is just one of the most narrow tracks here. We're having a standing start, we're having quite the wide car, so even going too wide here is a big risk. And yeah, my hopes are just that they've learned from the first race and they just want to put the second race in the books and not take them out in the first lap and have about 10 people not finish the first lap.
Very quickly, we're going to get a little bit of fan interaction. We would like to know where Gregor Hutu will finish heat number 2. Of course, he'll be starting as he won the race in the 20th position. All things considered, where do we think he's going to finish? Zach Hudson thinks he's going to finish in the 3rd spot. You can use the hashtag ProtoICE, get in contact with us on Facebook, facebook.com/GlacierTV, or alternatively, if you're on the live stream, leave your comments in the box there as well. Liam, I'm going to ask you that question first. Gregor Hutu, where's he going to finish?
Oh, God, I don't like questions like this. I would like to say in the top 5, but as we've said, I mean, as Marius very wisely said, that the drivers should know by now that race 2 throughout the season has been a bit of a firework display. Race 1 this time has proved that, and they should be a little bit more cautious. But in the nature of this, and you just want to try and get those positions early and make up for lost ground, I can see it going either way, and it could maybe perhaps be even worse. All it takes is one tiny error, and carnage ensues. I'd like to think Greg will maybe be wise enough to make it through that and maybe get himself into the top 5.
Top 5. We got an answer finally from Liam. Marius, go.
Well, Liam said he should be wise enough. I think he is wise enough, but that's not really all he needs. It's probably 50% wisdom and 50%, well, also including the skill of trying to avoid the incident. But then, if you're just running into a sort of mass crash, as we've seen, a few drivers just caught up in that, you can't really do anything, and that's the other 50%. So, I believe he's probably able to stay out of the most trouble, but if there's such a mass crash as in the first race, and he's caught up in that, it's also going to quickly end this race. But I think if there's nothing, he could as well manage to get into the top 5 once again. We've seen that he's got the skill to do that. However, he's got a few guys right behind him, Jack Basford, Rico Alatolo, Alexi Aloma, Martin Krönke, all finishing the race quite early, still being in the top 25, so they are starting right behind him, and also they are looking to get their points redeemed for the DNF in the first race. So he's not only get to fight for the front, but he's also going to get the pressure from the rear, and I imagine if he gets the pressure from both sides, not only trying to look to the front, but also getting it from the rear, yeah, it's going to be more difficult than it was before.
Yoni. Yoni Batman, Mr. Cameraman, what's your opinion?
I don't have an opinion.
He doesn't have an opinion. My opinion is going to be very simple. He's going to come home 7th. Couple of people. Petra Cotravara says 2nd position. Nico Brandt 6th. Salim M probably 1st. Don't forget you can keep in contact on Twitter. Use the hashtag ProtoICE. Rob Sutherland, this has got to be the worst joke ever. You know what you're talking about. But having a look at this track once again, you know, second start, like Road America, like Sebring, like Silverstone, it's a very narrow run down into turn number 1. And as we saw, you've got to be careful all the way through, I'd say, until out of turn 7.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not just through the first lap as well. You've got to remember, this has got to be a race-long effort for these guys. This is one of the most demanding circuits on the calendar. We said in a practice session that this circuit, it suits the GTs just fine. They can cruise around here. You have no ways of losing them. The HPDs are a handful around here. Some of the most best handling cars in the world really do struggle for grip around here just due to the sheer elevation changes and low downforce of these cars. So it's just down to who can manage their cars the most, and realistically, who can try and have their wits about them and avoid the carnage.
This time I'd like to welcome into the GlacierTV booth, Mr. Alexi Aloma. How do you take your first race? You kind of crabbed that car all the way around the racetrack, eventually, in about 5 laps.
Yeah, I got a good launch and could actually pass Rico and Jack, but then in turn 5 I went like a little bit wider. The car jumped from the curb, so it went to a little bit to gravel and then just couldn't do anything. It just went to the wall and back to the track.
And I have to ask you, was your pit crew telling you they had to bring the car home? I mean, it took you a while to get it back to pit road.
Well, I knew that if I went to the pit lane, it would say we're too much damage, we are done. So I decided to do those 3 laps to get some positions, because I knew in the first laps there's so many wrecks that I could gain so many positions by that way.
And is there a ProtoICE curse at the moment on you and your teammates? It looks as though you're having yourself a ton of difficulties in the series.
Yeah, probably.
We'll try and get rid of it. But second race, you got to do it all over again. It's going to be carnage where you're starting from. Can I ask if you're looking forward to it?
I'm always looking forward to the next race.
Almost looking forward to it. We'll take that one. Yoni, go on, ask him a question. Marius isn't here.
Okei, in Finnish? Aleksi, voiko ihanammin päivä enää alkaa?
Joo, olihan siinä vähän krapula, mutta... Eikä se kummempaa.
Aiheutit meinaan toistaiseksi parhaan ohjuksen, meinaan kamera lähteä siinä, kun auto lensi suoraan päin kameraa melkein, ja sitten tuli siis... Sain elämäni parhaat naurut, kun kattelin 20 autoa hirveässä kasassa nyppylän takaa, että miltä tuntuu tämmönen kunnia.
No enhän minä sitä toista koloria, en mene ottaa kuriku ulos. Nehän koloria sinä itsekseni siellä taantana.
Joo, oli vitsi. Okay,
I'm not even going to ask what you were going to ask, what you're talking to him about there. But Oleski, we'll see you in race number 2. We've got ourselves a little bit of time before the second race kicks off here. The 10th round of the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup. We're edging closer to the end of the season of every single race. I have to say, Liam, Gregor Hutu, he's in a position right now where he needs to start driving for points in these second races just to secure himself that title.
Yeah, points mean prizes, and it's so easy to lose the car here. And the last thing he wants to do is just totally write off that victory with the DNF hit and Jesse Niemann getting a good result. So he really does need to have his wits about him and maybe play a more cautious game here for Gregor Hutu. He's well aware that he's one of the most calm and collected drivers on this entire series, but he's got to really use that to his advantage now and just be a bit cautious, and maybe if he's stuck behind a slower car, just wait a couple of corners. Don't go for these unnecessary dive bombs as some of the guys would do. Just maybe wait out a bit until there's a mistake and then take the advantage. And if he does that right, he should finish the race and maybe even a top 5.
And we've got one more question for you. How many random phrases will Liam use in race number 2? Yoni Hagnes been saying 4. Liam, any increases on that one?
I'll go for at least 7. I'll try and get out as many as possible.
No comment. Marius, taking us back to Road Atlanta, this second race, I think that all the pressures that we've seen about how difficult it can be overtaken in Sector 1. We've seen about how you have to line up your passes, but how you have to get the job done early. This start is going to be mental.
Yeah, well, I can't really say it's going to be more mental than the first race, but actually we would have expected the first race to look, like the second. So I can't really say anything about this. It can go both ways, and I'm just not really sure how this is going to go. The first race has been completely insane, not even half of the grid finishing, and as soon as the second race is better than that, I think we have to be happy already.
And we'll bring in Yoni one more time very quickly. And Yoni, race control, they're going to have a word with these drivers before they come down into turn number 1 for the second race. But in reality, at tracks like this, which is so narrow, I mean, how can drivers actually stay out of the way if there's a wreck happening ahead of them, rather than stopping? And of course, if you stop, then cars are likely to try and plow in behind you as they're all jostling for position.
Well, basically what you can do is just try to slow down as maximum as possible and keep an eye on the mirrors, and if it looks like you're going to be rear-ended, then as much grass as you have at your disposal, then you have no choice but to try and drive through the grass with the zero throttle and just hope that you're not going to meet the wall before you get back on the track. But yeah, I mean, turn 5 is a tricky part because the speed that people carry through there before they see the wreck makes it very difficult to dodge a wreck. I mean, if the wreck had happened like 50 yards after where it actually happened, I'm pretty sure 80% of all the wrecked cars would have been able to survive that.
And when we talk about, drivers finishing Heat 2, it's been up and down throughout the season. Last time out, it wasn't too bad, to be fair. However, we're really going to have to see how these drivers survive not only lap number 1, but the entire 30 minutes as well. And it's going to be a very, very interesting scenario. You've got Jesse Niemann pretty much going to have to drive away into the sunset as soon as those lights go green. And we've got that story going on. You've got Gregor Hutu, he's going to start from the 20th position. You've got people like Martin Kroenke going to have to try and get himself as many points as possible. Pablo Gopo Lopez, I mean, we've seen just how crazy he can make some moves. Of course, while keeping it safe. I mean, Lopez is the perfect example about how you can make a pass and make it cleanly and safely, and we'll see how he goes as well. We'll get you confirmation of the grid in just a moment, but Liam, final thoughts before we go green for race number 2.
I'm just praying to the sim racing gods that they can all make it around the first lap unscathed. I know I'm going to say that, and it's either A, going to be a commentator's curse, or B, there'll be lap 2 carnage. But I really hope we see a much lower attrition rate than we saw the first race, and maybe a few shock surprises in the top 10.
Marius?
I'm scared.
I
I don't want to talk. I
scared.
don't think this start talk is doing any good. It's really just... Forget about the commentator's curse, this is worse now.
Okay, what we're going to do is we are going to all pray very quickly and ask for a good race. Let's have a good race, everyone. It's going to be an exciting race. It always is. To run through your top 20 drivers very quickly. Row number 1, Jesse Neiman and Pasi Volton, and row number 2, Scott Bircher and Braden Whitaker. Row number 3, Stefan Schmidt and Michael Klanberg. Row number 4, Henry Backman and Carl Frederick Hersong. Row 5, David Williams and Klaus Ellenbrand. Row 6, Joe Jr. Nick Thiessen. Row 7, Stefano Lanioto and Darren Marsh. Row number 8, Anthony Waselli and Paul Ilbrink. Row number 9, Roderick Cronin, Jorn Jans. And row number 10 will be Eka Hapala and Gregor Hutu. I cannot believe how quickly I did that, but wow. Jesse Neiman is starting from the pole position. We're going to go green racing in less than 30 seconds time. 35 drivers once again taking the start, and you see the drivers at the rear actually on the hill. This makes the start very difficult for them because they really can't drop the clutch too early at the start of this race. But we're waiting once again for those lights on the racing.com gantry to go red. They'll go red from anywhere between 5 and 7 seconds, and then they'll go green. We'll be racing for 30 more minutes here at Road Atlanta. And the lights go green, and a good start by Neiman. We expected that. A good start by Birch.
Oh, and crash right off the line.
Already a big crash there, and these drivers are all heaping up there. Hootie somehow needs to get past it, but a huge crash there. And I see a green car is involved in that. Klaus Ellenbrand's involved in it, and somehow most of these drivers have been able to get through okay. They're full wide on the grass almost as they come up into turn number 2. Having a look to see where Gregor Hutu is. He's trying to work on the outside at the moment, 3 wide, and there's always another crash to go down into the S. I think Parla was involved in a 3 wide moment there as well. Gregor Hutu is up into the 16th position, and wow.
A crazy start, and one probably the most craziest fact is, I mean, Paula Brink retired, but look at the lead already that Jesse Neiman has established over the rest of the field.
We expected that. Neiman, you know, one of the fastest guys on the racetrack. He's starting from pole position. He's pretty much got a free race here, and he is leading by a huge gap over the rest of the field. And I have to say, Pasi Volton got a very, very slow start here. We're keeping an eye out to see where everyone is. David Williams is looking down to something as they come in, and I have to say, Darren Marsh as well trying to make the move, and Marius, a crazy start here once again, and David Williams is moving his way up, and I believe he's actually up into the 2nd position.
Yeah, and I believe Gregor Hutu spun. It's out of the last turn. He's been spun by Roderick Cronin. Not really sure if he took damage, but he's recovered now, completely out of the gravel, and should be way outside the top 30.
Yeah, and it was down to the second part of the chicane. It just looked as though Cronin came across him a little bit, spun that car around. He had to wait for all those drivers to go past him, and it's so difficult to spin that car back around when you're on the gravel and the grass here at Road Atlanta. And he falls in behind Conrad Houghton, and let's not forget Houghton's the driver who had that moment with Jesse Neiman earlier on. But Pablo Lopez, look at him in the 69 car up into the 16th position.
Absolutely crazy start here already. It just goes to show that anything can happen here in the ProtoICE Cup. As you can see, Pasi Volton, and once again looking towards the inside of Roderick Cronin, but he hasn't got enough momentum yet as they come in towards the penultimate corner. But he's got to be careful because Martin Kroenke being very conveniently placed, darts to the inside, very late manoeuvre there as he got enough momentum, cuts over the apex very nicely, and he secured that one. Not too much of a fight there by Volton, who's got a bit wide, and through goes, I think it's going to be Jorn Jens as well, and he's going to be careful. He's losing positions like wildfire here today. Pablo Lopez looking to also take advantage of that one. Can he get the job done now as Lopez and Jorn Jens go into turn 1, and Volton's just held on. Lopez around the outside. Oh, and a big wiggle there.
Oh, and Unalian is off as well. Risto in the 17 car off of the racetrack. Lopez was able to hold that one and had to fall back in behind Jorn Jens, but Lopez really is trying to put the hammer down early on. He knows this is the best time for him to gain position, as they're going to have to swarm around the right-hand side of Pasi Volton. He's just been going backwards in this race.
Oh my goodness, big massive crash! You know, Chris Damron Jr.
And Volton also. So Volton had also just been spun around there as well. Cameron Jr. having a separate incident, as it always
And
happens.
Jason Lovitz just bucked. Coming out of the S's, carnage is happening in every other corner. Lovett's in the wall, and I wonder if that's the end of his race. Yes, it is. He's gone back to the pit lane. The attrition rate, once again, cars are dropping like fries right now. Fries, even not fries.
Dropping like McDonald's. And
The concentration is also dropping, as you notice.
Oh my God. Scott Bircher, Henry Backman and Roselli almost touching each other there as they go in towards turn 1 again. And this is getting too tense right now. I'm losing my words as they go in towards the S's. And you're just wondering where the next incident's going to come from. It's absolute carnage. Roselli goes round the outside of the S's after a Henry Backman mistake. He takes a position very sensibly and not too much contact made between those two. And now Roselli sets his sights on the back of Bircher. Bircher goes wide. Roselli making to look at two positions from two corners around the outside. It's a great overtaking opportunity. He's made it stick. And again, sensibly there is Henry Backman. Look at the swarm of cars looking to try and get past. So Darren Marsh is in there as well. And it looks like poor old Scott Bircher is having an awful time out there at the moment. He's being pressured from Darren Marsh, Henry Backman, Ilka Hapala, Croonan, Martin Kroenke, and almost an LO2 as well. So a horde of cars were trying to get through. Kroenke going alongside with Croonan. Look at this! Absolutely incredible scenes into the chicane. This couldn't end well, surely. A bit of contact, and that was inevitable. And luckily, there wasn't too many fireworks. And that was just nailed down to a little firewheel there. But Roderick Croonan expressing his emotions in the chat. Look at this, almost 3 wide into the final corner. It's a spin. And Martin Kroenke's around. He's collected. There and around they go. And he's kept it going again. A complete pirouette for Kroenke. But poor old Scott Bircher caught on the poor end of the stick there. And it's another problematic race for him.
I think Liam has finally run out of words.
I just...
Oh my God, to run through the top 5 drivers momentarily is Jesse Niemann leading the way. A 5-second gap over David Williams in second. Anthony Roselli in the 3rd position. We talked about how he was able to get around Darren Marsh and Roderick Croonan, so he's now up into the 3rd position. Marsh in 4th, Croonan in 5th, Backman, Bircher slipping back, Martin Kroenke, he's had himself a bad race once again. Troy Schultz moved himself now up into the 8th position. We have to have a look at Gregor Hutto, however. He's moved himself back up, Marius, into the 16th position as it stands right now, I think.
Yeah, he's just gone past Jack Dasford there, so he's recovered from the little incident. Surprisingly, no damage. I wonder what he does to his car, but apparently he does not suffer from any damage. He's been clipped by Roderick Croonan quite severely, and he's still got absolutely no damage, and I'm really surprised by that.
Indeed, and we're having a look at the replay of the Hutto crash. Somehow that car just doesn't take any damage at all. I don't know what it is, but he must have the most solid car in the world. And Hutto, he comes past the start finish line. Get confirmation he's now up into the 14th position, hunting down Hurlsky Loma in the 13 car, currently riding in the 13th position. To check in, however, on Niemann, he's got that 5.2 second gap. Last time by, David Williams just 0.2 seconds slower. And could you believe it, Marius? You might have a My Free ID driver doing well here in the second race.
Well, as long as they start from the pole, obviously. Yeah, still exceptional start from Dave here. Came from 9th position, great start here already in 2nd. And now he's just onto the rear of Jesse, 5 seconds down. But also 13 seconds from the lead is Anthony Roselli in 3rd. And, well, he's got the train behind him. He could escape from that together with Darren Marsh. But Roderick Croonan, Henry Backman still having the train.
Look at Alexia Lehman now alongside Rico Alatalo. Sorry to cut you short there. They're side by side into the chicane. And that should be job done before they even hit the corner there for Alexia Lehman. Can Rico Alatalo try and get the cutback? He does. Now he's on the offensive, but he just cannot quite get that momentum shifted. And unfortunately for him, it's going to be Gregor Hutto who moves up a position. I got my thing wrong. I'm sorry there. So it's actually Gregor Hutto and Alexia Lehman. Hutto moves up another position and continues to a little stomp through the field at the moment. And next on his hit list, of course, will be Rico Alatalo. So that's where the mix-up came from.
Meanwhile, further back through the field as well, we have to check in on battles going on around the racetrack. Pascal Nicolas and Pasi Bolton. I have to say, Pasi Bolton really has faded since the start of this race. He's not got any damage to that race car. He started this race from the 2nd position all the way down into 18th, so it shows How, if you've not got that car dialed in, you really lose yourself a ton of time and a ton of positions. Pablo GoPro Lopez up into the 10th position, and Italo is currently running 11th. The field is spread out once again here, but it will come back together. Lopez, for example, is trying to close down Iker Hapala in the battle for the 9th position. Hapala's fastest lap of the race has been a 1 minute 9.500. Lopez are aiming to do a 1 minute 10.1, however, Marius.
Yeah, and I'm just skipping through the grid and taking a look at the start situations here. And another great start by Jörn Jens. He's been coming from 18th position after finishing 3rd in the first race. And he's now all the way up right behind Henry Beckman in 7th. And Henry Beckman, however, he started in 7th and now is in 6th. So he's not really gained anything, not much to gain, but he's also not lost anything. Roderick Croynin came from 17, now in 5. Darren Marsh from 14, now in 4. And even Anthony Roselli came from 15. So everyone from, let's say, 14th to 18th, Marsh, Roselli, Ilbring, Croyn and Jens have all made up at least 10 positions.
And I had to say, Pasi Volton is Hitzer today, just not getting that car working the way he needs to. Lopez, he's kind of caught up a little bit to Iker Hapala. Last lap, 1 minute 9.5 compared to 1 minute 0.5 for Hapala. So they're kind of running line astern now. But we have to say that Niemann is doing a great job out front. Williams is managing that gap now in the 2nd position. Roselli in 3rd, not making any inroads at all. Darren Marsh, of course, they're kind of renewing their battle from race number 1. Roselli ahead of Marsh once again. Hopefully Marsh has got enough fuel in this car this time. Roger Cronin is close behind him, however, in what is a nice battle between the radical driver of Cronin and Darren Marsh in the 68 car.
Well, look at Gregor Hutu trying to size up Rico Alatalo in towards turn 1, got very loose on the entrance there. Don't want to run wide too much through there as they come in towards the S's once again. Alatalo on the defensive from Gregor Hutu currently sits in P12, tipped in for a top 5. He's almost inside the top 10 and somehow managed to get unscathed through all of the carnage so far. So let's see what he can do here to be the 2nd lap. He's run consecutively close to the back of Rico Alatalo, but question is, how long will it be before Rico surrenders? He's not the surrendering type, is he, Will?
He's not the surrendering type at all, and Marius is really potting up on the racetrack between some of these drivers.
Yeah, I'm just skipping through the grid once again, and off cameras we've had Jörn Jens finally getting past Henry Beckman, and that happened not even a lap ago, and he's already about 2 seconds ahead of Beckman there. So Henry Beckman now ahead of Tapani Linalotto, Ilka Hapala, and eventually also getting Pablo Lopez as Rico Alatalo once again defending against Gregor Hutu, and that is happening right behind them, so just outside the top 10. So Beckman keeps holding up these guys, keeps holding up Linalotto, Hapala, and even Lopez. Then even Rico Alatalo and Gregor Hutu could make the move towards the top 10 as Pablo Lopez is off in turn 1.
Oh no, Pablo Lopez, he's caught back onto the racetrack. He's literally dirt trapping it at the moment. But Lopez, he's had such a good race to this point, he's going to have to slow that car down. You see him doing it in the S's. This is going to allow Ricky to close that gap once again. The 12 car of Ricky Charmander coming down the back straight. A big wiggle for him as he comes down into turn number 6. And Alatalo actually closing that gap. And Lopez, I think the pressure's just coming onto him a little bit now.
Yeah, most definitely, and you can see though that the front of Rico Alatalo's car is not going to be aiding that pressure situation at all. It's bad enough you realise that you've got 2 very fast, very feisty drivers behind you, one of them being a very successful iRacing champion, but then you spin, then you realise how much they've closed on you, and all of this just starts adding together, and Lopez really does have to manage the pressure right now as Alatalo again comes under pressure from Gregor Hutu, who just can't quite get enough to, momentum to make that successful move yet, and again Alatalo immediately cutting off that inside line, so Hutu cannot gain that extra bit of momentum. But once again, looking around the outside of one, surely he won't have enough through here. We'll try for the cutback. He went loose through there last time. Careful not to do what Lopez did before and get the outside of that track, but he's doing very well right now. Hutu, it's important for him to remain composed as again takes a bit more curb there. He's got to be careful. We've still got over half this race to go, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed, about 17 minutes left to go. Hutu looking very racy still as Alatalo goes a little bit wide out of turn number 5 once again. And Hutu looking a little bit more cautious now. He had that crazy moment where he spun that car down at the chicane with that little bit of contact. I'm having a look at it. It doesn't seem to look as though he's got too much damage to that race car. Perhaps something to the suspension, because Hutu's not as fast as we've seen him earlier on in this race. But it's Pablo Lopez in 10th, Rico Alatalo in 11th, and Gregor Hutu in 12th. They are battling to get themselves into the top 10 for Hutu. As I said at the start of this broadcast, he just needs to rack up the points now, so he will not be driving that car as hard as you expect some of these other drivers to do, Marius.
Yeah, he could basically just finish in that position. Of course, he's still trying to get Rico there. It's still a race, so it's not exactly as defensive as you might think, as he's going too wide here on the finish straight, and that might be it already around the outside. Brave move and contact between them.
Hutu's off in turn 1, and he just kept it out the barrier. And you can see Will's concern there, but Hutu comes back onto the track, and he was side by side with Lopez again, favouring that outside line. He couldn't quite do it now. You can see he's behind Alexia Loma, and it looks like history's repeating itself. We'll be hoping we won't be doing that for too long, but that's the first mistake we've seen from Gregor Hutu, and he's been trying the outside line at turn 1 for so long now. But Alatalo has held his stuff there, just kept it all together, and forced Hutu the long way round, and it really has the long way round now, as he's lost another position.
Indeed, and we're having a look at the Hard Charger Awards as well, and it really is coming down to Hutu versus Pablo GoPro Lopez. And at the start of this race, it was 55 positions gained for Gregor Hutu, 44 positions gained from Pablo Lopez. That is really going to shape itself up in this race. And as it stands, as you see there, Hutu looking down to the outside of Aloma and able to complete the pass on him easily enough. Of course, Aloma has got some damage to his race car, so it will be a challenge when he gets up to Alatalo once again. But Marius, Pablo Lopez is going to gain up a ton of positions in that Hard Charger Award.
Yeah, Pablo's had a great start there. I mean, we may not forget he came from the third last position in the grid, 33rd. I mean, he's made up basically 3 times the positions he started in. So he started in 33rd. He's already inside the top 10, and he might even get further, as Henry Beckman is still maintaining the 7th position, right ahead of Tapani Linalotto and Ilkka Haapala. So Haapala makes the mistake. Now Ilkka Haapala goes through. That doesn't really change much, as both of them are still stuck behind Beckman. And if Lopez keeps going like this, he's just going to get further and further, and it's just 5 seconds, so it's not really the end of the world, and we've still got over 15 minutes to go. However, a few other battles on the track currently still. We've got Jesse Nieminen in the lead, David Williams, his teammate, in second. Radicals driver Anthony Roselli, after a bit of a trouble in the first race, came from 15th, now in 3rd position. And the guys behind him, Darren Marsh from 14th into 4th, Roderick Croynan from 17th into 5th, and Björn Jens came from 18th and is now into 6th position, and that is just a great start for all of them.
Indeed, and that Cronin and Marsh battle continues on the racetrack. This is a battle for 4th and 5th positions on the racetrack, and Cronin's been able to get close to the rear of Darren Marsh. However, not close enough to make the pass. I'm sure Darren Marsh's pit crew put in another couple of pounds of fuel after that first race, because he really had to fuel save at the end of heat number 1. Behind them, you've got yourself Laniotto and Hapana still battling for position on the racetrack, and Henry Backman involved in this as well. So 3 guys separated by about 1.5 seconds on the racetrack. Henry Backman, Ika Hapana and Tapana Laniotto, and it looks as though that Hapana is not able to close up too much to the rear of Backman's car, Liam.
No, it's definitely looking that way at the moment, but once again, talking about catching up to the back of a car, Rico Alatalo again to go into pressure from Gregor Hutu. As a couple moments ago, we saw Hutu, and now he's trying to round the outside of the chicane, trying to make up for lost ground here, and trying to finally get that move signed, sealed, delivered. That's a very risky move around the outside. He's made it stick as well, and a big slide by Rico. He's off into Gravelback, and unfortunately for Rico, it's sweet karma for Gregor as he moves up back into P11. He's looking very much forward now and onto the back of Pablo Lopez, who currently inhabits that final 10th position, and he would love to break into that top 10. There's a few seconds separating them, but we'll have to see what occurs later on. But Linenauti right now has got to be careful, because whilst he's gaining on the back of Hapala, if this race is anything to go by, if Hapala goes for a move on the back of Henry Backman, and there is a bit of carnage, if he does get caught up, it could prove vital. All he's got to do is keep his car there and hope to pick up the pieces, as once again Backman needs to get on that defensive line as soon as possible.
So Hutu in the 11th position. It is a 4-second gap between himself and Pablo Lopez, who is rounding out your top 10. Also a 4-second gap between Pablo Lopez and Stefano Laniotto, who's at the rear of that train with Henry Backman and Ika Hapala. Behind them, it doesn't look as though there's too much going on. Pascal Nicolas and Conrad Hutum are battling for 14th, 15th position on the racetrack there, as it looks as though, there's Hapala in the 8th car there, who He's been able to get himself finally now past Henry Backman. That was in the final corner down this straightaway into turn number 1 to move Ilkka Harpala up into the 7th position. Henry Backman into 8th, and ahead of them, Jorn Jens took the chicane very badly there. He might have to slow down and give up a little bit of speed. He went very wide into turn number 3, and this is going to allow Harpala to close right up to the rear of Jorn Jens in the 0-0.
Yeah, and Jorn's been having problems all race long. I believe he's also got some damage to his race car in the last couple of laps. Taking a look at his lap times, he's been consistently in the 108s until lap 11 as he spins the car almost. He catches it back, but Ilkka Harpala will go past, and Henry Backman will be right at his tail at the end of the straight and might even attack him there. However, back to the times, he's now into the 110 and 111s, so there's definitely something wrong with this car. Straight line speed still seems to be okay. Is he trying it this time? No. It's another train formed, this time by Ilkka Harpala at the top, followed by Jorn Jens. However, talking about damage, not only these few guys seem to have damage, but also Pablo Lopez seems to be right behind Gregor Hutto now. So he's already past Pablo Lopez there. And just taking a look where that happened, a little mistake of Pablo Lopez there out of the slow right-hander, and Hutto was amazingly fast past, and 4 seconds made up quite quickly there. So you've seen the incident between Gregor Hutto and Rico Alatolo and several other incidents, and I can't believe that Hutto is completely undamaged still. He's still doing the same straight line speed, and I just can't believe that, and he's still absolutely undamaged.
Indeed, and someone needs to take a look at that car one day. And I have to say for Pablo Lopez as well, the fact that he's finishing this race is always going to be an achievement for him. I'm not going to speak too soon. In fact, I'm going to flick away from Pablo Lopez and just hope that he finishes the race, because I do not want to put a commentator curse on him. Gregor Hutto can see the final Laniotto in the distance. He's about 3 seconds behind on the racetrack, and Gregor Hutto doing a blistering time this lap. So he's trying to close down Laniotto, who's about 2 seconds behind Henry Backman, who's about half a second behind Jorn Jens, who's about 3/10 of a second behind Ilkka Harpala. So technically, Marius, 6th position is doable for him right now.
Yeah, it is, but we've talked about that. He doesn't really need that. So we've got 10 minutes, a bit less than 10 minutes to go here, and with the couple of fights ahead, he's just running into more danger of not finishing this race, and that's the last thing he wants here. So you've said it, it's a points game now, and from his position there, he's basically got the championship in his hands. He's the only one to ruin it now, and even with Jesse winning and Dave getting into 2nd position, he's still going to make plenty points from the win in the first race, so he's not really worried about that, and I believe he's just going to take it a little easy now.
The battle continues between Darren Marsh in the 68 car and Anthony Rosselli in the 70. On your screens, they come down to the chicane once again. And Anthony Rosselli looking as though he's dropped back a little bit these last couple of laps, but still able to keep Darren Marsh behind him. At the same time, Marsh looking as though he's put a little bit of a gap, and I say little bit very loosely, over Roderick Cronin. In fact, Rosselli looking very slow there down the front straightaway. This is going to allow Marsh to catch right up to the rear of him as they come down into turn number 3, and I'm wondering whether Rosselli's got some damage to his race car, because he's very slow on the apex of the corners, and I see a little tweak actually to the left front of his car. So Rosselli got some damage to that 70 car. That will hurt his suspension as well, and we'll see whether or not Darren Marsh can use the slow turn 7 and that long back straightaway to try and make the pass happen on Anthony Rosselli in the 70 machine, working away through turn number 6 now into turn number 7, the slowest corner on the racetrack. They get out of it well. Rosselli getting a good drive out of there, but Marius looking as though some damage there to Anthony Rosselli's car that we didn't see.
Yeah, not only that, but also Tapani Liralotto seems to have some damage to his race car, and he's currently fighting against Gregor Hutto, and I can't really tell if we've got a car without damage except for Hutto right now. Even if we're taking a look at the rear geometry of the car going over the curb, usually you see the rear wing end plates being bent, and Hutto is basically the only one not having that, so...
Yep, and Marsh was past there, so he's up into the 4th position. It was the probably most boring pass we've seen all race long, but very easily done for him. As we're having a look now on board Gregor Hutto in the 34 car, he is working his way down into front straightaway now down into turn number 1. He's got himself Tapana Laniotto ahead of him in the 16 car as they come into turn number 1, that up the hill. Now they flick it to the right and then to the left to get a nice line into this, the first part of the S's, and Hutu really closing the gap there on Laniotto, so working their way through the S's. He won't be able to do anything until at least turn 5. He's not even going to be close enough to do anything there, but Hutu is on the charge once again. Laniotto going a little bit wide as they're working away now down into turn number 6, and Hutu having a little bit of a look down to the inside. He's not going to be close enough. His chance is going to be on this, the back straightaway. Will stay on board with Hutu as they come out of turn number 7. He's getting a in fact, he's got a perfect drive out of there. He is about half a car length behind it. You can just see it on your onboard shot. At some point, he will try and flick out to the right-hand side. The issue is, Laniotto has got the draft from the car ahead of him. As that flicks over now to the right side of the track, he will now be able to get the draft himself, Hutu. He's going to work himself around perhaps the outside line. The last late breakers, Hutu able to make the job happen there, and Hutu is now up into the 9th position.
And with only 6 minutes to go as well, it's going to really start getting tense now, especially for the guys like Gregor Hutu, who maybe, you know, as we say, just doesn't need a massive position here. He wants to try and do what a champion does, and that's drive the fullest of the car and prove to everyone why you're a champion. It's all very good, you know, finishing in 10th or 9th position. And if you've got the opportunity to finish in, say, 7th or 6th in Gregor's case, then why not go for it? Why not stamp your authority all over it? And that will maybe creeping in the back of Gregor's mind right now as he sizes at the back of Henry Backman.
And the gap between Hutu and Backman is only 9 tenths. It was only 9 tenths of a second at the start of this lap. And as he goes through the field, it's going to become easier and easier for Hutu. He will struggle to really close up to him on this back straightaway because Backman has a draft from Jorn Jens ahead of him. However, as soon as he gets past Backman, Jorn Jens will probably be a lot easier for Hutu to pass. However, Marius, with about 5 minutes left of this race left to go, we have to say that Ika Hapala in 6th position is looking more and more safe with every lap.
Yeah, he really does. And safety, you say it, that's really the thing you need now. And you've mainly made a good part of the race. You've survived the start. You're in a good position. You're mainly getting a lot of points there. And yeah, I wonder if you really strive for more now. And we've got an onboard with Gregor Hutu right now chasing Henry Backman. And I'm quite sure he's going to take his time now. If he gets the chance, he's going to be right past, but nothing risky.
Yeah, indeed, it is. They're working their way down into turn number 5 once again. Hutu, he'll get a good run out of here. Do you see that? Backman going wide out of turn number 5. You can go wide at that track, but if you clip the curve the wrong way, it really does slow your momentum down as they come now down into turn number 6. You've got lap traffic coming into play as well. This is going to make things really, really interesting as they're going to really be swarming over the racetrack. Hutu wanted to go to the right-hand side there, but of course Stefan Schmidt was there, and Stefan Schmidt was involved with a battle with I believe that was Pasi Valtonen before the start of this lap. And now Hutu looking close once again. The gap is about a car length. He can try and flick it down to the inside. He'll have to do it very late. He is thinking about it, but thought better of it because, of course, there are these 2 laps car ahead of him. And they've got Jorn Jens as well as they come out of the final corner. Jorn Jens trying to work his way now past Valtonen. And Hutu looking down to the inside out of the final corner. Then bold manoeuvre. Hutu gets past. And that was easy work there off back. But now he has to sling to the left-hand side to get past Valtonen. And next victim is going to be Jorn Jens. And he's only about 7 tenths of a second up the road.
Yeah, Jorn currently occupying the 7th position there after a good start. However, he's still struggling with the car, and he's got a bit of damage, that's for sure, but he's also really just keeping the car sideways all the time. He's not really too conservative here, so he's probably one of the few guys who doesn't really pay too much attention for safety at this point. And he's now going to get the pressure from Gregor Hutu. Meanwhile, not really a change at the lead of the pack. Jesse Nieminen, unviewed by the cameras mostly, dominating this race in the lead, 10 seconds ahead of David Williams, his teammate, and Williams another 17 seconds ahead of Darren Marsh, and Roderick Cronin in 4th position. They've been going at it for a few good laps, but now are separated by 2 seconds.
Gregor Hutu looking closer and closer to the rear of Jorn Jens' car. Don't forget the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup is back next week with 2 rounds at Phillip Island as Hutu looking to try and do the same pass he made the previous lap. He's very close to the rear of Jorn Jens. Jens going defensive as they come down into turn number 1. Is Hutu going to look down to the inside? In fact, he does. Hutu almost spins it and he has to pull back into line. And this is exactly, Liam, what you were talking about. Hutu can make some big passes, but he's got to be careful.
Yeah, and I think Rico Alatale was the one man who punished him for that earlier on. He said you're going to have to try harder than that if you want to pass around there. And now maybe Jorn Jens is sensing that same bit of desperation. We're almost into the final couple of laps now here at Road Atlanta. And the last thing Jorn Jens wants to do is surrender that position. He wants to try and get as many points as he can. And at this stage in the championship, every point is vital. And it could well be the difference between a couple of positions. He got a bit of a rough exit as they come in towards the chicane one more time. Has Hutu got enough? Surely he's going to look either around the outside into the chicane or the outside in turn one. He always senses some more aggressive manoeuvre, doesn't he? Never goes for the easy pass on the inside. Likes to shake things up. Jorn Jens immediately sees the move coming, forcing Gregor on the inside. So he'll be on the outside for the next part of the track. But Jorn Jens read that one very well and moved on towards, hopefully, complete another lap for him in front of Hutu. But going in towards what should be the final lap now. Hutu again sizing up that pass for the outside of turn one. A drag race, here we go then. Can Hutu get it done this time, or will it end in despair once again?
Oh!
He just can't do it.
that was very close. Very close, in fact.
Close.
Great
Exactly.
driving by both drivers, though. Gregor tries it every time around the outside, but Jan does not give in, and he knows that Gregor won't try everything. And Gregor is still a bit too aggressive for my kind. Just a bit of bad luck there, clipping the grass somewhere, and he's over, and he's going to enter the last lap this time by, as our race leader Jesse Niemann might already be in the last lap, but no, I think he's in the second last lap. So we've got 2 laps to go here, and 2 laps of time for Gregor Hutu to make the pass, but I think after these 2 close calls, it should be enough to call it a day and just finish 8th.
Yeah, but of course, when you're racing on the racetrack, you throw the championship picture out of your head as much as possible, unless you come into the last couple of races. Hutu knows he's got himself a big lead, despite the fact that Niemann is going to probably finish this race in the first position. And Hutu doesn't look as though he has the straight line speed advantage over Jorn Jens, but gets a better run out of the chicane into the final corner. And yeah, we're just going to keep an eye out on the start-finish line. Niemann is very close. It could be the last lap. We're keeping an eye on it. It's going to be very close as they come. He comes out into the chicane, flicking it to the left, and we're flicking it to the right-hand side once again. He comes up over the crest, and we're going to get confirmation in about 4 seconds' time, and he's going to have one more lap to go. White flag in hand. Yes, Niemann has one more lap of this 2.54 mile racetrack to go. Checking back in that battle with Hutu. He is still harrowing Jorn Jens, but looking as though he might be giving up the ghost now. He's got himself literally 2 more chances down the chicane. He's getting himself a different run there through turn 7. This actually gives him a bit more of a chance as they come up the hill one more time. He's not close enough though. Niemann, meanwhile, working his way down into turn number 6 for the final time. He's got himself 2 cars ahead of him. This is Stefan Schmidt and Pasi Bolton who have been battling on the racetrack for the majority of this race. Hutu will keep an eye on him. He's very close as they come down into chicane. He's got himself now just 1 more lap to try and get the job done over Jorn Jens. And he's looking down to the inside once again. He's not going to be able to complete the pass, however, unless he does something magically brave down into turn 1. He's not even going to be near close enough to make the move there. Meanwhile, Jesse Niemann down into the final chicane for the final time. It all went wrong for him in race number 1. However, he was gifted with pole position. He hasn't put a foot wrong in heat number 2. Jesse Niemann wins heat number 10 of the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup.
Yeah, absolutely dominating performance from the Finn there. David Williams comes second after a great race. He started from 9, finishing second with over 20 seconds ahead of Darren Marsh coming third. Roderick Croynen and Anthony Roselli still need to finish. So Gregor Hutu, we're still having the cameras on that. It's between him and Jorn Jens for the 7th position, the 00 car against the 34 car. Who will it be? Who will take the 7th position? It's still a lot of points, but Gregor Hutu has not got to risk it. He does not need to fight for the position, but he's going for it.
He's doing it down to the outside.
Is he LB on the inside line?
No,
the next
he's not.
corner?
He's wide. He's wide.
And Jorn Jens surely on the final moments take that 7th position. He's fought gallantly for it there, hasn't he? Very well deserved it. I'm sure there'll be a nod of respect from Gregor Hutu. He pushed him hard, and Gregor was not able to do enough. So Jorn Jens 7th, Gregor Hutu 8th.
And Hutu almost actually lost 9th position to Henry Backman because of the way he clipped the chicane. He had to slow down, and Hutu was able to just roll that car down the hill enough to satisfy the iRacing steward to the point that he didn't gain too much time in the chicane. However, he made it work on the last lap. He tried to give it a go. You know, you make those last lap passes knowing that it's either going to end up well, or you have a fallback position. For Hutu, he will come home in the 8th spot. All these cars now coming past the start-finish line. Pablo Lopez in 11th position, the last lead lap cars. So time for us to run through final race results for the 10th round of the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup. And Jesse Nieminen, after his disappointment in round number 1 of today, comes home in the first position, an 8.3 second gap over David Williams. Darren Marsh in third was able to get past Anthony Waselli away from our TV screens, and Roger Cronin in fourth, Anthony Waselli in fifth, Ika Hapala in the sixth position, Jorn Jens in seventh, Gregor Hooter in eighth, Henry Bachmann in ninth, Tapani Lanioto rounding out your top 10. Pablo Lopez in the 69 car finishing the race mercifully after starting the race from, get this, all the way down in the 33rd position, so 22 positions gained for him. Rico Adatalo in 12th, Alessia Loma 13th, Jack Basford 14th, Conrad Hooten 15th, Pascal Nicolas 16th, Stefan Schmidt 17th, Pasi Bolton 18th, Troy Schultz 19th, Rob Cuffs 20th. Rest of the results coming up on your screens momentarily, and we are going to talk to Mr. Jorn Jens. And Jorn, you've had a pretty good day today.
Oh yeah, first race was running really well. Lots of drivers crashed out of me in front. And second race, I was really lucky to get all through all those wrecks.
And that second race, it did look as though that 00 car was under an absolute ton of pressure from Hutu. And he tried to make the move down on the inside, down the outside of turn number 1. He made that big move down into the final chicane on the last lap. Was it a case of, I'm just going to run as if there's another driver behind you, or did you have it in mind at all that you had the championship leader right on your wing?
Yeah, it was a lot of pressure. My black box failed for some reason, so I had always to ask who is behind me, who is coming. And when they told me there was 3 laps to go, that Gregor's behind me, I had to push what I could.
And Marius, I know you've got a couple of questions, and we'll even allow you to talk to him in German if you want in a moment. Go.
Alright. Ja, Jörn, war ja ein schönes Rennen. 7. ist ja, denke ich mal, für das Rennen ein sehr akzeptables Resultat. Jetzt haben wir ja gesehen, kurz vorm Schluss hat es ja doch deutlich Probleme mit dem Auto. Also bis jetzt nicht unbedingt viel langsamer geworden, aber überall quer gewesen und schon, man hat gesehen, dass du da Probleme hattest. Was war los?
Ja, das Auto war nicht das Problem. Ich hatte ein paar Probleme beim Rechner. Und zwar sind die Texturen ein bisschen angefangen zu spinnen. Und ich habe dann keine Bremspunkte mehr gehabt, musste ich mich alles neu orientieren, weil die Texturen nicht mehr gestimmt haben, aus irgendwelchen Gründen.
Ja, dafür hast du es aber noch sehr gut über die Bühne gebracht. 7. Platz, klasse gemacht, vor allen Dingen gegen Hutu schön gekämpft und am Ende verdient gewonnen. Also den Kampf gegen Hutu vielmehr. Hast du denn jetzt am Ende noch fest damit gerechnet, dass Hutu angreift? Weil ihm ging es ja jetzt quasi überhaupt nicht mehr um den Platz zu holen, sondern er versucht ja nur die Punkte ins Ziel zu bringen.
Ja, ich habe damit gerechnet, weil er ist eigentlich auch einer, der immer angreift, wenn es geht und wenn es noch was zu holen gibt.
Ja, trotzdem ein schönes Resultat nach dem Sieg in Road America, denke ich mal, eines der schönsten Rennen hier. Nächste Strecke Phillip Island sollte dir, denke ich mal, liegen. Also ich denke mal, zumindest das Ziel sollte sein, das zu wiederholen.
Ja, gegen 2 Top-10-Ergebnisse hätte ich nichts einzuwenden. Ja.
Alles klar. Dann Dankeschön und damit zurück zu Will.
By the way, Marius, I only understood 4 words of that, but you said Road America, not Road Atlanta. Sorry.
I said Road America because it was about the win Jan took in the second race at Road America, so you are once again wrong.
I'm always wrong. Actually, I was right because I said Road America. Moving on, Roderick Cronin, you're another driver who's had a very interesting day today. You placed in the second race in 4th position in that 05 car. Well done.
Thanks. Yeah, first race was really good. I overtook a few people, but mostly just kept it on track and was pretty consistent and had 0 incidents, so I was pretty happy with that. But then the second race, a lot more things going on, but again, a lot of crashes, and I was involved in one of them with Gregor, which I'm sorry for. And one lap later, was a bit of a weird situation there with 4 cars. I think I passed 3 cars there, which wasn't my plan at all, but it somehow, I don't know. I know that when you are driving with more than 1 car, it will always go slower through a turn than when you're driving on your own, but somehow it was all of a sudden like a brake test, and I got through with a 0x, so all good, I guess.
And 2 very good finishes, not only for yourself, but for your Radicals teammate Anthony Waselli as well. Yourself and Mr. Andy Kerristoff, we're going to have to be very happy with that.
Keisha taught it, yes. Especially in the first race where we were with 4 Radicals in the top 10, I think, and of course as well in the second race with I don't know how we all finished, but me in 4th, AJ in 5th, and Pablo in 11th, and the rest crashed unfortunately.
Dutch? I can't do Dutch.
Yeah, nobody talks Dutch, I guess. Wir
Okay,
können auch Deutsch reden,
Well,
oder?
ja, wir können auch Deutsch reden. Ich wollte gerade sagen, eigentlich brauchen wir ja gar nicht Niederländisch reden. Ja, sind wir jetzt schon wieder bei Deutsch? Ja, gut. Ja, ich würde sagen, mal wieder ein ziemlich respektables Resultat.
Ja, danke. Es war ganz schwer. Es war schwer, der Auto auf der Strecke zu halten. Ich kann nicht so gut Deutsch reden, das können Sie hören. Aber ja,
Ich glaube,
es war ein tolles Race.
genug. Es ist gut genug, um zu sagen, dass dein Rennen in Ordnung war. Von daher, ich glaube, jetzt ist auch langsam gut. Aber tolles
Sehr
Rennen
sicher.
und
I have
nächste
no
Woche,
idea what's going on.
nächste Woche Phillip Island sollte dir, denke ich, auch liegen, oder?
Ja, sehr sicher. Ich habe da viele Kämpfe gehabt in mit der Rocco Baron und ich denke, dass ich da wieder gut machen soll.
All right. Thanks for that, Roderick Croynan, trying in German. I think that was really good. I can't speak Dutch any word, so that's even better. And I think that's enough German for now. We probably have to value Finnish now, so off to Joni and our race winner, Jesse.
Shall we talk in English to him first? Yeah, Yessi, well done. You were rather, I can't say the word I want to say there, after the first race. However, started first, led the entire race, job done, got some points back in the bag. Consolation?
A little bit, yeah. Not much to say about the race. I tried to make it a little bit more exciting. I ran straight in turn 2. I think once I got a slowdown, but yeah, not the most eventful race.
But how important was it to keep all 4 wheels pointing in the right direction, finish the race, pack up and go over to Australia?
Really important, of course, but the championship doesn't look that great. I think I lost a little bit of points against Gregor overall, so it's not the easiest job ahead, but of course I'll try my best.
And with 3 sets of rounds still to go, Phillip Island, Indianapolis, and then Spa-Francorchamps in 2013. Can you close that gap to Gregor Hutu, or is it just a case of hoping you can do your thing and he messes up?
Yeah, I think it's going to come down a lot to the second races and who gets through the first corners without incidents.
Joni?
No, varmaan aika hemmetin tylsä kisa toi jälkimmäinen, mutta niin. Sanoit itse tuossa, että pisteitä tuli takkiin Hutulle yhteensä, mutta jäikö kisa viikonlopusta kaiken kaikkiaan millainen maku suuhun?
No tietenkin vähän turhauttavaa, kun ekas kisassa kävi miten kävi, mutta ei siinä oikein paljon ollut tehtävissä, kun mä olin jo sitoutunut rättissä jarruttamaan niin kuin normaali linja, niin ei sitten oikein päässyt enää mihinkään.
Joo, oli aika yksiselitteinen keissi kyllä, että rankkuu siitä varmasti tulee, mutta niinku, siis kaverille siis, mutta mites oliko rata sun mielestä niinku sarjalle sopiva vai onko liian syherö?
No, en mä tiedä, se on vähän sijaisia. Kyllä toi, onko se T2, niin vähän ei ehkä sovi auto niihin kanttereihin niin hyvin, mutta kai se ihan ok rata.
Mitäs ensi viikko Phillip Island? Tykkäätkö enemmän? Mitä odotat?
Kyllä se mun mielestä vähän parempi rata on mulla ainakin. Toivottavasti menee vähän paremmin tossa.
Ja vielä viimeiseksi, että onko MyTriadilta tulossa jotain uutta teräsmodellia, että saatte vaihteeksi Hutun auton paskaksi?
ei kommenttia.
I don't even want to know that bit. But well done, Yessi. This is going to be a first. We're going to interview someone in their first language for the entire time. Mr. David Williams, hello!
It's amazing. Hello.
Wait. What part of England are you from? I'm going to try and do the accent if I have to.
I have a perfectly neutral accent. I'm originally from the Channel Islands and they don't have an accent.
Well,
Handball!
Thank God it's neutral. Don't let him do accents.
Oh God!
Oh, shut up.
Just get it underway, please.
So, David Williams, you had yourself a difficult first race. However, you recovered for race number 2, coming home in second. How was it?
You want me to talk about both races, or?
Go on, yeah. Why don't you?
All right. Yeah. Race 1 was looking promising. Obviously third at the start, and I think I made a mistake, sort of 5 laps in, and let Ilka through, which was unfortunate because I felt like I had kind of similar pace to Jesse and Gregor. Obviously, Jesse unfortunately had that issue with the back marker, and then I went and threw it off all on my own at turn 2. Which was very disappointing, but I still managed to finish 12th. So, of course, that meant starting 9th in the second race. And then I had just a perfect start, basically, and just kind of slid up the inside of everyone, straight into 3rd place. And then I can't remember who it was in front of me, but managed to get him on the first lap. So, yeah, up to 2nd by lap 1, and then just took it easy really from there.
And you have to, hope that there's going to be some more luck coming for you. I mean, that first incident, it's always annoying when you have your own incidents, but coming on to Phillip Island next week, are you hoping for an overall change of fortune to try and help you in your championship battles?
Well, I feel like this has been a small change of fortune. I mean, this is the second race that I've had without an incident, which is very nice. So if I can combine the two, get a first and second race going together, that would be perfect.
And because you are English and, we haven't got any accent thing going on, I'm going to ask you a very English question. How's the weather?
It's just I wish it was snowing, but it's not. It's not cold enough down here. But
I think it's not really an appropriate question if Finns are.
Oh, shut up, Marius.
Sorry.
Yes, the GlacierTV post-race show is descending into conundrum here. But David, next week we'll see you at Phillip Island. Is there anything you think you can do to try and gain up positions in the championship that you've learned from today, really?
Just keep it on the black stuff, basically. Don't throw it off myself.
Indeed. And David Williams, well done. Second position. We will see you next week. We've got a little bit of time to talk to, I don't know, someone's clicking in my ear, but Aleski Loma. Hello again.
Hello.
So, how was your race number 2?
It was pretty good, but there was some Vittu situation on the turn 1. I mean, on the main straight, and I got a little hit from the back, and my car was broken, and so on. And I tried to slow down some people, but my straight line speed was so bad, so nothing I could have done. And then I was so bored that I fired up Spotify and started to sing on our TeamSpeak to annoy everyone else.
What song were you singing?
Oh, it was Queen's Who Wants to Live Forever.
Who does want to live forever? I have to say though, that hit in the rear end, how much damage did that cause to your race car? Because, I mean, it can't be as bad as the first race, to be fair, but are you still able to finish in the 13th position?
Well, it was slower on the straight and had a little less rear grip.
And when we move on to Phillip Island, I mean, I'm guessing you just want to put this entire week behind you. We go to Phillip Island next week. It's all about speed, and a bit more speed down under. Do you think that you can get the job done there?
What?
Can you do well next week?
Well, it's kind of oval track, so I don't know. Maybe.
Great answer.
I think that's the best answer we've heard all day. We'll see. And that, I think, finally concludes all the people we've talked to. We've talked to you already, Roderick, haven't we?
Yes, you have.
Good. Do you want to talk to us again?
I just want to say thanks for hosting. Thanks for the commentating.
Oh, thank you. And we're going to just run through a couple of things before we go. I think we've all kind of descended into some form of hysterical nature. But, Liam, I'm going to come to you first. next week we go to Phillip Island. It is a scary racetrack, and you're flat out for about 80% of the lap. We've seen here today that passing can happen. We've seen here today that when there's accidents, they're going to be big accidents, but when we go down under, it's going to be a lot more of the same once again.
Yeah, I'm thinking, just think coming off a tough track like this, maybe give the drivers a break, you know, he's down on a nice, easy flowing circuit, but no, we threw them right back in the deep end in one of the most technical circuits on the calendar. This really is going to be a race of just really incredible racing. I think it's going to be so close and definitely one to watch out for. I think there could be a few surprises again, but it's really going to come down to who's going to be on top out of Gregor Hooter and Jesse Nieminen.
And Marius, in a number of ways, Road Atlanta is a bit similar to Phillip Island. You've got the fast sweeping corners, some big braking zones, and you've got to be very good getting onto the power. We saw in the pro race today that turn number 11 especially, you've really got to be good getting onto the power to maximize your lap time.
Yeah, and just like Alexi said, the track is not exactly an oval track, but it has some kind of resemblance, especially lots of fast turns, lots of...
Yoni is eating a dinosaur.
Lots of turns which oval drivers might relate to, and you said it, it's a high-speed track, so low downforce for all the cars. Not really got much tolerance, already got quite a low amount of curb, so as soon as you get off, you're on the grass, you're off, and, well, it's just going to be one exciting event again. I can't really say much more. It's worn out. I know after this round I can't really say anything about the race because we had anything today.
And you talk about tolerance. I think tolerance and frustration is going to be high in a number of these drivers. And I think, I mean, revenge isn't something that these drivers are going to be doing, but I think that, you know, many more start incidents and some of these drivers are going to start getting rather upset on the racetrack. I am going to go and take a photo of a cucumber. This has been Will Vincent alongside Liam Jenkins and Marius Golombeck and Yoni Backman. Round number 9 and 10 are in the books. We'll be back next week at Phillip Island. And of course, iRacing Super Saturday returns with the pro race in Saturday afternoon. Blondie's X5, their final race of the season next Saturday, and then of course 2 30-minute lunatic races here in the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup. We will see you all next week. Bye bye.